Hey friends, I'm back from my brief hiatus the last couple of months. Life really got busy for a time. I had my son's first birthday in April and also dealt with the loss of a family member. So I had lots of highs and lows, but I'm happy to be back with my party. Episode 3 and 4 are going to release back to back in the same month so I can get them out there and hopefully get back on track with my release schedule. Episode 3 was recorded back in March, but didn't get published, so it'll be a little bit shorter because I cut out the part about upcoming releases since all those games are out now. Everyone knows a ton about them, so I figured people probably didn't want to hear that again. Then in June, I should be back to a regular schedule of new episodes coming out on the last Tuesday of the month. Super excited for this summer. There's lots of events going on, lots of showcases and game shows, and just lots of upcoming news that I'm really excited to dive into this summer. So thank you for listening. I appreciate you and hope you guys enjoy the content. Do you want? Yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah. It's just, we're just going to be talking. It's going to get darker and darker.
I was digging the natural sunlight, but I guess it's going away now.
Yeah, it's going to be gone in like 5 minutes.
All right. Welcome to GatherPartyPodcast. I'm your host, Kevin, a husband, dad, lifelong gamer. And this podcast is about video games, news, upcoming games, and kind of anything that me and my friends feel like talking about today. And speaking of friends, I have a guest today that I'm super excited about because he's my first ever return guest to the show. Jordan, aka Thug Nasty, aka our local friendly neighborhood cinephile, has come back to grace us with his presence. Jay, how you doing, man?
Hey, Kev, doing pretty all right. Thank you again for thinking of me and asking about me to come back here. Yeah, I'm just really excited to be here and down. I'm game for talking about whatever you want.
Yeah, it was a no-brainer. I got a lot of positive feedback about the first episode that we did. And especially all the information that you shared on there. People were really impressed, so you did real good.
That's good to hear. I don't know one thing I remember for the first one, I did talk about wrestling quite a bit. I am not a wrestling person. I know WrestleMania or whatever's going on right now. Don't ask me anything about it. I don't know anything about it. I know people who went, but I didn't go.
I don't think we'll get into wrestling again. I think that was just a spur of the moment, random thing that we got into.
That's so cold open.
Yeah. How are things going in your life? Any major updates?
Things have been going pretty all right. Taking it a bit easy this year. I'm usually one that like to travel around and go do some stuff. Last year I went to like Grand Canyon. I went to Texas. This year I'm looking about taking it a bit back. Just more or less staying locally as far as travels and stuff and sightseeing. Just trying to, take it a little easy this year. Just spend more times with friends and family locally this time around.
Nice.
As far as more personal stuff, birthday's coming up this month. I'm getting closer to getting 30. Turning like 29, I think, this year. So
yeah, you're
dealing with my own
mortality,
you know.
April, is it 26?
Yeah.
Oh, I got it right.
Yeah.
Nice. Birthdays are hard to remember.
Oh, of course.
I was funny enough. We have a friend who has a birthday really close to yours, and I was just talking to him today. And I was telling him birthdays are hard for me to remember, but you and Nick's birthday is always like ingrained in my mind for some reason because they're the day apart. And I just remember that one time we celebrated your birthday and then on midnight celebrated his. So
and
now
we
that's
combined
forever.
our candles together.
Yeah, it's forever stuck in my mind now. So I never forget that one.
You know what's hard to remember? In this digital age that we're in, phone numbers. Like, you used to have to write down someone's phone number from like a phone book or whatever and call their family and stuff. Well, not call their family, have to call the family to reach the specific person. But now, since we're in this digital age where everyone's number is just on your phone, remembering just their digits isolated and such is such a hard thing nowadays. Like, I could probably name maybe 5 people's, maybe 4's people's number off the top of my head.
That's really impressive that you could name 4. I think I can name one phone number and it's Savannah's. And that's about it.
I could do my parents, my sister, my girlfriend, and somebody whose number I give the GameStop guy for all the pre-owned rentals and shit. So that way he gets like points and whatnot. So those are like the 5 numbers I remember.
Nice. I think that's pretty good. 5 numbers. Because, I mean, when you multiply that by, what is that? 10? So that's 50 numbers you memorize. That's pretty good. I guess the area code is the same on most of the numbers, but
yeah, most of the area code's the same. It is interesting. It's something we take for granted as far as, like how ease of access everything has become, and just, like it requires less thought. Like, why think about too hard how to reach someone, or, our interconnectivity when it's just there. It's not something we put a lot of like thought in. We're just connected, and that's what this digital age is just like brought upon,
Yeah. You've been participating in Lent, you mentioned to me. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going all right. I gave up drinking for this time around. Just kind of noticed that last year I was drinking quite a bit, and I just kind of need to, just like go on a bit, take it a little bit easy. One thing I know, my girlfriend, she's
the librarian,
known alcoholic that was like close to her at some point in life, and thinking about it, just I might have became a little too comfortable with drinking. There wasn't an issue between us or anything. It's just I'm trying to be a little more conscientious about how much I drink, and especially like around her and such. Not saying it was ever like an issue or such, but just trying to be a considerate kind of person and whatnot. So I just want to make sure that I was going kind of clean for like this month, and then just see how long I go. And plus, I don't know, just I am a social drinker. I drink socially with other friends. I did get kind of comfortable for a while, just maybe 1 or 2 drinks at home at a week, and such. And all things are good in moderation, but I think it's also good to just practice, just preservation of things that you find enjoyable, like taking breaks and such.
Yeah, definitely. And drinking alcohol, some people will claim there is some health benefit to it, to like having a drink once in a while. But I was listening to a recent podcast, the Huberman Lab, he's like a Stanford researcher and professor, and he did a podcast on alcohol, and it was unbiased, like he just wanted to present the facts about what alcohol does to your body, and there was no benefit at all to ever drinking alcohol, so it's never a bad thing to cut it out.
Yeah.
And I know I try and drink less too now, but that's more so just for health reasons, and I feel like I drink enough for a lifetime for a person. So I should probably try and spare my body any more of that abuse.
Speaking of health, do you remember like my crazy metabolism I've had and such? Yeah, that's gone now.
Oh yeah.
What is it? Since it kind of came into factor with also me realizing my corn allergy and such. I found I'm allergic to corn last summer. So I'm not waking up with like morning sickness anymore since I cut out corn from like everything. So like that's things like soda, popcorn, some candies and snacks, just because they're corn syrup, corn starch, like everything in.
You love corn. I feel like I saw you eat a lot of corn things when we were living
together.
I
love movies. I used to eat popcorn all the time. Now I'm at a movie theater. I can't eat anything over there now.
Yeah.
But yeah, since I cut that off, like I'm able to retain food more, and I'm like, oh wow, so this is what it's like to like eat and be hungry all the time. And so yeah, I put on like 15, 20 pounds since summer last year.
Dang. Well, you don't look it. You look healthy.
Oh, well, thank you. I suppose I am where my body needs to be now, instead of like the smaller, skinnier frame. So it's
I'm sure I would notice if you were wearing like spandex right now or in like a full cosplay. It'd probably show a little bit.
There are a couple clothes that don't fit me as good anymore, I have realized. So a couple of my fancy vests that I wore when I was college era, maybe late high school, just don't cut it no more.
Yeah. Well, you're probably ready now for the no shirt Hulk cosplay.
One would hope.
Any cons you're going to anytime soon?
Fanime's coming up in May. That's a big one.
That's here in Fresno, right?
No, that's over in San Jose.
Oh.
So it's San Jose. It's a 4-day event, 24-hour con. You can go there at like 2:30 in the morning. There's like videos and stuff you go do. Vendors Hall is typically closed, but there's like panels and like anime movie nights that they'll hold like all night, just like playing. You could binge watch an entire series because they'll play it like all like throughout. Like I think they did Attack on Titan binge watch and whatnot a few years back. But yeah, that's one of the bigger anime conventions of like the country, if I'm not mistaken. Of definitely in like the biggest anime in California, right next to like Anime LA or ALX, I think is what they call it. Besides that, what I'm currently looking towards, I typically like Ren fairs a lot, but this year I want to go into horror conventions. So there's one also like in Pasadena, I think, or such, somewhere in SoCal. Monster Palooza is coming there this summer, and they're going to have quite a bit big name actors. Robert Englund, so the original Freddy Krueger, is going to be there. They are also going to have Bruce Campbell from Evil Dead series. He's also going to be there. Another individual who is I've met once before, such a nice guy, Doug Jones. So he is a known creature actor. So he's known professionally for putting on outfits and just being like anthropomorphic, like animals or creatures or monsters and such. And some of his films are the Oscar award-winning The Shape of Water, where he was the fish man. Another film, he was...
you have a picture with him on your Instagram, don't you?
Yes, I did.
Yeah,
so there was a convention in Modesto like years back that I saw Doug Jones like doing like autographs or meetups and stuff like that. But his line was so long, and I thought, I'm never going to meet him. Like, it's just taking too long, and I'm already too late by the time I noticed that. So I was just kind of like, all right, well, there went that moment. And then after me and my friends that were at that con, we went to the Denny's nearby to go and eat. And that guy showed up. He was there.
No way.
You know, I was like, wait, that's Doug Jones, isn't it? Like, he just came from the con to eat Denny's. And then oh my gosh, like as we were leaving, I didn't want to bother him too much. I told him that, like, Doug Jones, I saw you at the con. I really wanted to meet you, but you seemed extremely busy, and I'm sorry to bother you, but you are such an amazing person. Like, you have so many great iconic roles. And he was like, oh, you know what? Well, thank you so much, and it's always a pleasure hearing from a fan, and this is so wonderful to hear from you. Would you like to take a picture? I'm like, yes. And so like I sat down next to him at the Denny's and like he took a picture, and oh my god, it's like the blurriest picture. I hate it, but I got a picture with him. I was so happy, and like he just wanted to give me a hug too, and I was like, this guy's so friendly. This guy's in movies where he's like grotesque creatures and monsters, and he just wants to give hugs, and he's just a warm individual. You could just feel that from him, and I would love to meet him again in this convention.
Yeah, that's awesome when you get to meet like stars or someone that you really look up to, and they turn out to just be a really nice person. Because that always sucks when you meet someone and they big time you or don't give you the time of day.
A couple people I've heard that are like that. Jack Nicholson, I hear he's like that. William Shatner too. He does not like meeting people, if I'm not mistaken. They're just people that are like, you're going to bother me, get out of my way, kind of thing. Is like,
yeah.
But I can understand that they both have very, I feel, obsessed fans. Jack Nicholson, he's many time Oscar nominated like actor. William Shatner, one of the biggest names in Star Trek and in sci-fi in general. And so, you know, I'm sure part of that culture, there's people that indulge and love it, being part of like fandoms, and there's others that kind of more or less just see it as a job or just become too overwhelmed and don't want to be, you know, just caught up in a lot of like the fan glamour that kind of happens where they're just keep seeing themselves just be pestered by people. And you know what? Some people just like to be a little more isolated, a little more, I want me time. And it feels a little hard like that when you're like maybe a celebrity, you know, and there's people that are always just wanting to be, you know, bothering you.
Yeah, definitely. So, I'm sure when you get to a certain point too, you have to be really cautious of the people you interact with. And I'm sure just any random person off the street, you have to be a little bit cautious too. So right on. That's awesome. So are you going to Anime Con, or are you just going to the horror one?
Fanime is a toss-up. I would like to. Typically people have hotels booked a few weeks after like the dates are announced. But we'll see. If anything, I could probably do a day trip. Would like to dress up. If not, maybe, you know, can see about doing a hotel with a friend or something for like at least a night. We'll see. Monster Palooza, I really want to push for. I really like to go to. There are some things I want to get autographed.
Do you have are you going to dress up for Monster Palooza?
If I do, it had to be some kind of horror themed thing. So maybe something from Dead by Daylight.
I don't think I've seen a cosplay of yours that's horror themed.
I got a couple. I got a BioShock one. I'm the Big Daddy doll.
Oh yeah, I'd count that as horror.
Yeah. Character from Dead by Daylight, the Legion. So the most easiest costume to cosplay from Dead by Daylight. But hey.
Yeah, Hotline Miami too. I'd consider those cosplays.
Yeah, Hotline Miami is certainly a visceral game, bloody game. So for a horror convention, anything gory, you know, like it's welcome with open arms, I'm sure.
Yeah.
must gather your party before venturing forth.
Well, Jay, has there been any games you've been playing this past month?
Actually, yeah, there's been a couple games I've been playing. As known, the most current console I have right now is the Nintendo Switch. I don't have like the PS5 or the Xbox Series X. Switch is a convenient console to take around. But the game I have been playing is Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon. So this is a spin-off of the mainline series of the Bayonetta games, which is a known hack and slash shooter. This one is a cooperative puzzle game where it's cooperative, but it's still single player. What's really interesting is it's a storybook art style. Characters are hand drawn. It's a lot of reminiscent of the the Okami games. Just has this very similar, just hand drawn art style. And what's interesting about the mechanics is that the controllers are split in half. So one side of the controller is one character, where the other side is another character. And you need to work these characters together to progress further and further in the game. So there's things where you'll need to use your magic to bind certain enemies. So that's only one character can do that. And then the other character will need to either protect your other character as they're casting or set up combos to distract so that way your other character does the magic or whatever might be needed. So it's really different. It feels like I need two brains in my one body to try to split up. You know, you got to split the brain cell to share and control both characters. It feels like it was made for two players, honestly.
I was going to say, it sounds like a low-key like couch co-op game if you just give half the controller to
So
someone.
I've actually done that. I played that with my girlfriend and another friend of mine. We just play the game. I'm like, here's the controller. You play this character. I'll do this one. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. There are some parts where you kind of need both controllers in the sense that there's dialogue parts where you'll need where it's text scrolls, so one controller needs to press A while the other one looks up or down or such like that, or scrolls through. But that's easily remedied just by verbally, communicating amongst each other. But yeah, no, it's essentially just a couch co-op game disguised as a single player immersive game, which you could totally play as single player. As stated, it's just each side of the controller is shared or uses up a different character. So it's could be played either or, totally can be advertised as a split, as a couch co-op. And I think it's just a very, what would I say? It is a very just chill game. It's very calming. It's not the high octane action that the Bayonetta series is known for. It's deliberately just a very relaxing game. You look at it, the art style is pleasing. There's wisps in the forest. You have to fight fairies. I mean, the fairies are kind of like fae, so like they are like the bad guy fairies of like the lore and of like ancient fairies. That's not like Tinkerbell fairy, not cute. These fairies are capturing children and witches and like preserving their souls and shit like that. So yeah, no, it certainly has its own charm, and it's just very, very homely, very homely. All the art style and the aesthetics is very pleasing.
Yeah, I watched some gameplay of it because last episode when I was looking at upcoming games, I saw that one and I thought of you because we had just talked about Bayonetta in the first episode, and I was like, I wonder if Jay's going to play this game.
Absolutely.
I wish I was having you on the second episode. We could have talked about it, but yeah, it looked like it was. It reminded me a lot of Alice in Wonderland. I think they drew some inspiration from there because the demon character is named Cheshire, isn't he?
It is. This isn't the first time we met the character Cheshire in the Bayonetta lore. In fact, there was a Cheshire doll in the first game. Not in the second one, but it did pop up a few times in the third game. But yeah, the turnaround for this game was surprising because it took like 6 years to make Bayo 3, like 6.5. And then after that game was made, they're like, surprised, you're getting another whole Bayonetta game in like 5 months. And everyone's like, what? This definitely makes up for the time we didn't have one, but this is just a surprising turn. And they're like, yep, nope, it's going to be this totally different style, and it's not going to be like the other games, but it is in the Bayonetta universe. And so it's a great departure, and I think an excellent entry point for those that aren't into the, like I said, maybe into the deep mechanics and the combo heavy portions of a hack and slash, but want to still feel something that's very warm, witchy, and just aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, because the story of the game takes place before the events of Bayonetta. It's when she's a young child, right?
Yeah, so this story is about Cereza. And Cereza is, yes, a young witch who's been exiled by the Umbran witches, and she is going on a journey to try to discover how she could save her mom from imprisonment.
I've never played any of the Bayonetta games. So is Cereza the name of the protagonist in Bayonetta?
I suppose it's not a spoiler to say that that is not incorrect. Bayonetta has been known as Cereza.
Oh, okay. I was a little bit confused for a second.
So it just ties into the first game, because the first game, it's very obvious what happens once you are introduced to a certain character, but they try to play it off like it's a secret. So this game kind of can tie into that. So it's spoiler, not spoiler, as long as you, I don't know, have a decent understanding of story structure and like what a very obvious reveal may be. But yeah, Cereza is Bayonetta.
Oh, okay. I don't think that's that big of a spoiler.
Yeah, me either.
I think it was just me not knowing about any of the lore or world behind it.
Oh, I'd argue that at least definitely for the first Bayonetta, maybe in the second one, they are very much to me how I see Dark Souls, where there is not a whole lot of story, but there is a ton of lore. You know what? I might have to say it's probably better to say that there's more lore than what is being presented to you. So there is story, but it's confusing unless you like read the lore and like the codex and stuff like that you're given to.
Yeah, or if you're like me and you let someone else do the work and then just look up a YouTube video that explains the lore behind certain things.
For sure.
Did a lot of that when playing through Dark Souls.
For sure. There definitely is cutscenes and stuff that explains it. But at some point, the first game definitely lays down a lot of the fundamental groundwork. The prequel lays down a lot of the fundamental groundwork of what the world actually is. Once you start Bayonetta 1, you just see her character, like, you find out their suit's made of hair, and that's like, all right, cool, and that she's can defy, like, physics and stuff like that. I was like, all right, well, I mean, it's just really interesting. But, like, once you are explained, like, in lore and, like, codexes and whatnot, like, things are like, oh, okay, so this is the world that they're trying to make. So, all right.
Nice.
Yeah.
And how many hours into it are you?
I am about 60% done. So 10 hours, I think. 10, 15 maybe.
That's a good good length of game.
Yeah, there's
it's a lot longer than I thought it would be.
It's probably actually maybe almost done, because it's one of those, what was it? Final Fantasy the first one was very about this, where it's like find the 4 elements and then after that fight the final boss kind of deal.
Oh yeah.
So that game does have that trope in it. So I have like 3 of the 4 elements, so I just need to find the last element and do the final boss kind of thing. So yeah, but I feel like it's saying like it's at a low percentage because I'm trying to get through like a lot of the story. So once after that, it's all the exploration stuff that I need to find. So I need to save a bunch of witches that are stuck in the forest, save the wisps, explore and find all these other stuff. But yeah, so that's a game I'm having a lot of fun with. Very enjoy and totally recommend trying co-op with that. It could be kind of nutty, but also fun.
Any other games or any movies you watched this last month?
Movies, yeah. John Wick 4. Oh,
yeah, I've heard good things about it. I haven't seen, I've only seen part of John Wick 1. I haven't watched really any of the John Wick movies.
What are we doing here? Dude, let me just pull these out right now and we'll just watch. Like, no,
do a live reaction. Well, I guess not live, a pre-recorded reaction.
Yeah, what is it? John Wick is, it's hard to believe, but I find it to be 100% true. Each movie is better than the last, which is such a hard feat to accomplish.
Yeah.
For 4 movies in. But yeah, you see one movie and it's like, wow, that's great. And then you're like, see the second, you're like, wow, okay, well, how are they going to top this? And then each movie is like that. I was like, wow, how are they going to top this? Every time. I actually just watched it for the second time last night, John Wick in theaters. I had a friend who said, I only saw the first one. I was like, we're going to watch them all, and then we're going to go to the movies, and we're going to watch the 4th one. And it was great. He thoroughly enjoyed it. I did too for the second time around. There's actually quite a few inspirations you see in this one. So, if I'm not mistaken, I think one of the directors for this film was actually Keanu Reeves' stunt coordinator or stunt double or like stunt assistant from The Matrix. So he's very familiar with like doing action scenes, stuff like that. He really wanted to go all out for an action movie. It was like, this is going to be just an insane movie. I know all about stunts and action, so we're going to just get as much as we can, do all the crazy stuff we could do and throw it in here. And yeah, some of the cool nods in there. There's actually a nod to the Warriors in this film. Is something really cool. Another thing.
You're talking about the 1970s Warriors movie. Yeah.
Warriors, that film. There's a nod to the Warriors in there, which is super cool. I'm not going to get too much into spoilery stuff. A lot of the set pieces are really cool. There is a lot of people are talking about this scene, but there is a clear indication of a video game inspiration that they bring into the movie that is like totally mind-blowing.
No, you're not going to let us know what
I can't. It's.
I'll take your word for it then that it's mind-blowing.
It is super cool. It is totally different from what we've seen from action movies. I had to Google and check to see if there's been an action movie that replicated this, what they saw. Well, what we saw in like theaters. Like, has any movie ever done this? And so far, I haven't seen anything. But I will give a shout out to an obscure indie game that they said was that was their reference, which is referenced by another indie game that I enjoy a lot. But that indie game that they said was one of their inspirations was a Hong Kong Massacre, I believe.
Oh, okay. That has a different name, right? Isn't there an American game that has a different name than that?
There is a Western game that inspired Hong Kong Massacre, but it is a specific type of shooter. And the Western game was the inspiration for that. So in line, there's like 2 games that inspired a certain scene in John Wick that's like 3, 4, 5 minutes long, but it is like excellent action. Something that it changes the game, I feel, as far as like how we can perceive an action scene. And I honestly rank John Wick 4 in the upper echelon of one of the greatest modern action movies of all time. The only other movie I could feel that can compete with this is Mad Max Fury Road.
Wow, that's an impressive review. Yeah, I don't know. I guess now I have to check out John Wick. You know, I watched the first one on TV, so it was an edited version. That's why I don't know if I finished it, but I think I did watch all the way to the end of the first one. But I remember thinking it was good, but I was like, I get the gist of John Wick. I think it's just an action movie. I don't think I need to watch 3 others. But
have you ever heard of fridging?
No, I haven't.
So fridging is this trope that was introduced, if I'm not mistaken, from a Green Lantern comic. So in this Green Lantern comic, he had like a wife or such, and later on in the issue or whatnot, he comes home and he finds his wife dead. She was stuffed in the fridge. And he vows for revenge, and this helps him motivate his character to go on and pursue the evil, the big bad. And eventually he goes through a journey where he becomes better and such. So the term fridging means that a character who probably has very little screen time, speaking lines, or personality in of itself is sacrificed for another character to become better and go through the evolution. So this is what this term fridging is. So one thing that I thought of recently was that, is there fridging in John Wick? People are like, yeah, the wife died like at the start. Oh, like, here's the thing. She died more or less before the movie even started. So we see like the funeral right when the movie starts, so the regular John Wick movie. So, and then he gets the dog, so he's like at peace. So she is not the journey for him. Unfortunately, everyone knows the dog does die. So
yeah,
it is fair. It is fair to assume that the dog actually is the fridge itself and not the wife, which is kind of funny because typically it is like the wife or the female partner. There's another movie that came out recently. I'm not going to go too much into detail of which one, but it's very popular right now. You might have seen it. But they have an example of fridging in there, and I wasn't for it, just because it's kind of becoming like a bit of a tiresome trope. But yeah, John Wick is, to be fair, I totally think that the dog was fridged, and at best, the wife might be a mini fridge, is how I would dub her. But yeah, no, it is aware later on that it's like he does this for a dog, and he's like, it's more than a dog. So it just leans into it, and I think it's quite enjoyable. You're there for the ride, for the action. You don't need to think too hard about the story. It's very minimalist, but for what it is a parade and a ballet of bullets and action.
You'll have to check that out. So it's hard for me to watch movies nowadays, just because I don't always have the time with Sid. Mm-hmm. And since I'm married too, we have to, usually we have to pick movies that we both enjoy to watch. So sometimes that's hard to do too. But action movies, I think, are one that Savannah enjoys a lot. So I might be able to convince her to watch John Wick. Do you recommend that we watch all the earlier ones before 4?
Yeah, no, I would say lead into it because your mind is going to be blown each time you go to the new one. You're going to see some set pieces and action scenes, and you're like, "Wow, this is great!" And you're just going to go to the next one and be like, "Even better, even better, even better," and it feels rewarding to just be. It feels like sticking through it. You just get rewarded for seeing each new set piece. It's like, it kind of reminds me of Doom in a sense, where it's like an arena shooter. John Wick's all of a sudden in a new room with bad guys, and he's got to take them out, and you just watch him like take everyone out, and it is fantastic. I think they did a statistic of it. By the end of John Wick 3, he has killed like 306 people. So he averages about a kill of like 101 people per movie.
That's impressive.
With the first movie being, what, like 90 minutes, maybe 100 minutes, he kills a person every minute. Which is insane.
Nice. That's insane KD that he's gonna have at the end of his lifetime.
Absolutely. But yeah, John Wick 4, outstanding. If you can watch them all, I totally recommend watching them all. If you don't know, if you'd be even into it, like, that's fair, because some people look a little more for depth in their story. Some people just aren't into action or like gunplay and stuff like that. But I think it's fun. I think the whole series is fun.
You think it's gonna make an Oscar nominee?
No. So action films don't often do. If anything, sometimes
especially not the fourth in a series.
So there's been history of some movies that aren't the first that have won awards. The example, one of them, Top Gun Maverick won an Oscar this previous year.
Yes, yeah, it did.
It won Best Sound.
I didn't watch that one either.
I didn't see that. Another movie, the most famous
one
sequel.
Top Gun movie was enough for my lifetime, I think.
The most famous sequel that has won the most awards, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. The third film is, if I'm not mistaken, has the most Oscar awards of all time. I think it has like 11 out of the 23 nominees. Or nominations. Or categories. It has like 11 of them. So that's one that wasn't the first, but just like absolutely swept. Yeah. But if I was to give it anything for that one scene that I can't spoil for you, I would say cinematography. For that scene alone. And I've been pretty fire with my guesses, because this past year I guessed that I might have mentioned Black Panther, the Wakanda Forever, how they had the suits for the antagonist and like his guys, where they had like this lionfish Aztec warrior inspired suit. I was like, that is an S tier design. It needs to win. It did win Best Costume that year.
Yeah, I got Best Costume. Yeah, I know you had a few predictions that ended up being correct, I think, from our first episode. So
sadly, I had an Oscars watch party and I did not get first. That was fine. I took some risky bets just because of some of the categories that were there. I felt, is it what I want that's going to win, or is it what the Academy wants that's going to win? That's not an entirely obvious statement, but the Academy kind of leans towards certain things that it can be a safe bet.
Definitely.
But we could save this conversation if we go a little more into depth about Oscars and such. But so John Wick movie I love seeing right now. I'm almost down for a third time. There's very few movies I've seen a third time in theaters. And Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon, just a really cozy game. Nice. What about you, my man?
Most recently, this past weekend, I played the Diablo 4 beta that was open.
Oh, from KFC?
No, I didn't get the code from the Double Down.
Oh, man.
That was, wow. What a collab I never knew would exist in my lifetime. The KFC Blizzard Diablo collab. But no, I didn't. They ended up opening the beta up to everyone. So
they say man could only handle 3 Double Downs in his lifetime.
I believe it. I've already I think I've had it once in my lifetime. So I'm saving those 2 more times.
That thing is keto friendly. Did you know that?
I did not. Although I don't know much about the keto diet. But.
Keto means like no carbs and no like bread, and like you have to stay away from certain foods. You're going to go like...
Isn't it breaded chicken in a sandwich?
So, that is a fair point. Counterpoint. how much bread do you really think KFC is putting in their food?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'd imagine, their batter.
That's like asking for a
organic.
milkshake at McDonald's. That is 80% powder, 10% water, and the other 10% whatever was left over from the fries. I don't know.
Is that how they market it? That it's keto friendly?
No, but if you think about it, it kind of is.
That's funny.
But
But
totally you could just be like, eat our keto-free, bread-free chicken sandwich. Just hold the hot meat with the cheese in between.
yeah, but I played the beta and it was really good. I was really impressed with it. I mean, I'm pretty stoked on the game, regardless if I got to play the beta, because I was a big fan of the Diablos 1 and 2. I played those.
Did you play the third one?
I did play 3.
Okay.
I didn't enjoy it as much. I mean, I know it had a really rocky launch. Wasn't well received because they changed a lot of gameplay mechanics and took out a lot of the RPG elements from the first two Diablo games.
Would you say it's a little more streamlined, the third one?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
There's not they took out like the stats, your attributes and things like that you could customize. They took out, the weapon specializations. So it was really just, you're getting skill points, putting them into.
Okay. Streamlined, bared boned it a bit.
Yeah.
Made it,
so,
would you say like new user friendly?
Definitely. I mean, you could grind and then you'd level up and you'd unlock a new skill, but you didn't have really any choice between what skills you unlocked. And by the end game, everyone has the same skills unlocked. Okay. There really wasn't a whole lot of build variety. And that was because they geared the game more towards the loot rather than your character build. So it was all about the end game of grinding out bosses and farming for specific loot. Okay. And so that was kind of boring for me. So I didn't enjoy Diablo 3 that much. I only did one playthrough of it. And it was pretty easy. I mean, I played on like the normal difficulty when I played through it, and I only died once in the expansion because I bought the like Reaper of Souls edition or whatever it was called. So I played through the whole game and the expansion and died one time. So it was not. I
don't know how kill heavy the game is, but a game called Diablo 3, you anticipate dying at least 3 times as hard as the other 2.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an action RPG where you're fighting like mobs of enemies, so in order for that to be not as boring, there has to be some risk involved in fighing hordes of enemies.
Something to like kind of make the reward feel more rewarding.
Yeah. And I mean, I think I understand why it was easier is because there was not any build variety. There's no way to really build my character around anything. So
was Diablo 3 the first console Diablo?
Yeah. Yeah, the first two were
so that
PC.
I feel like could definitely attribute to why they bare bones it. So there's a lot of it's pretty known. PC games, there's a lot of like setup and different like customizations you could do. You have so many tools at your hand. And it just seems like when you port something or change something from PC to with a console mindset, you have such a limited tool. Like the controller can only do like so much for at least games around that time, or at least sometimes with that mindset of going from PC to there, that sometimes instead of overwhelming a player, it seems it's just easier to just simplify things so that way you don't have a whole lot to try to lose himself with and just get deterred from at the start.
Yeah, definitely. But in Diablo 4, they definitely added some more to the character customization and added some of those RPG elements back, so I like that. Great. And then visually, the game looked amazing. I mean, Blizzard is known for kind of their awesome cinematics, so it still had those really awesome cinematics, but the in-game graphics are really good too. Man, I was really impressed with it.
I never played World of Warcraft, but I remember looking at those trailers way back then, like the Lich King trailer back in like the early aughts. So like, damn, it's pretty dope. I'd watch a movie of this.
Yeah, I mean, even people who didn't play Blizzard games are familiar with their cinematic trailers because they're pretty impressive. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and they changed previous Diablo games because it's like an action RPG, kind of a hack and slash game. So previously in games, it's really like you watch this cool cinematic, and then the rest of the story is told through NPCs of just like a wall of text being read to you. Okay. And they kind of changed that formula up. So now there's in-game cutscenes now, and there's a little bit more interaction in the dialogue to where it's like a back and forth between your character and the NPCs. So it's a little more interesting. The storytelling is a little more compelling. They changed up their kind of formula for it. So I was really interested in like the world and the story they were telling. So I'm extremely hyped for it. I think it's going to be a really cool game. It was one of my predictions for Game of the Year.
Okay.
So I'm still holding on to that it's going to be at least nominated for Game of the Year.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm extremely stoked for it. So I played a bit of that. I didn't get to play much. They had you could get to level 20 and do the whole first act, and I think I only made it halfway through.
Is it going to carry over to the main game?
Yeah, and then you're.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I played as the barbarian, and I don't know. I don't think I enjoyed them that much. They made changes to the barbarian that I think were cool and interesting. So they made the barbarian is able to use any weapon type. And they switch between weapon types for each skill, so they could have a two-handed sword, and they could also have two one-handed axes, and they could, when they use a skill, they switch to those weapons.
Okay.
So they kind of seamlessly switch back and forth between weapons.
Can you dual wield an axe and a fist?
I don't think so. But yeah, so that was kind of interesting. I don't know how I liked it, and some skills have the same weapon type, so you didn't always need to switch between weapons.
Okay.
But it was an interesting idea. I think for me, I know this game doesn't go for realism or immersion at all because of the type of game that it is. But
all right, yeah.
For me, I picture a barbarian being very difficult to just switch seamlessly between a bunch of different weapons.
Barbarian, when you're angry, you make things work the way you want them to.
Yeah.
A lot of games with barbarians just kind of they're known to be the fight heavy. I really want to do as much damage and hurt people as bad as I can with as many weapons as I can kind of deal.
Yeah. And the barbarian had weapon specialization, so the more of one weapon that you use, the better you got with it. So they brought back some of that stuff from the earlier Diablo games that I really liked. So yeah, I have really high hopes for it. I know Blizzard has rubbed people the wrong way for the last few years with Diablo 3 and Diablo Immortal's release and Overwatch 1.5, and so they've gotten a lot of flack recently. But
was it Blizzard that did? Wasn't there a scandal? Not a scandal, but there was some version of one of their games where you were forced to play that and you couldn't revert back to the other games.
That was Overwatch. They took
No, not Overwatch. I could have swore it was a Blizzard game. It was I don't know, World of Warcraft 2 Anniversary Edition, or I can't remember which, but there was some studio that released a PC version that you can no longer play the previous version, that you had to play that version, and it had a butchered launch. So people were already having a bad time being forced to play this new version.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I swear that's Overwatch because they made Overwatch 2, but it took the place of Overwatch 1, so you can't play Overwatch 1 at all. But so we'll see. But I have high hopes for it, and it was pretty fun, so I think it's going to be a good one.
Any other games?
And then the only other thing I've been playing is wrapping up Atomic Heart, which I talked a little bit on the last episode, but I'm pretty far into it now. I think I'm at the end of the game.
Okay, that's Russian BioShock, right?
Yeah, heavily influenced by BioShock. They even make some references in the dialogue to BioShock. So yeah, definitely BioShock and I think Doom were two major influences of that game. But it was a lot of fun. It has some flaws, especially in the story and the dialogue.
I've heard the English voice. It is horrible.
Yeah, it was a bad voiceover. I've heard that too, that if you play it in Russian, that the translation is not as cringy as the English voiceover.
I listened to a snippet of some of him talk, and it sounds like I could just plug that into any video game main character male lead from anywhere between 2000 and 2015. Yeah. And it sounded like it would just come from any random game. I could... There's no identity to the voice that they did for the English dub.
Yeah. And yeah, his lines are pretty absurd. Almost, I compared him to almost like a Duke Nukem-esque character.
Oh, no.
But a Duke Nukem, though, is intentionally trying to be like absurd, whereas I don't think they were intending that with this character. So it didn't work out as well. But despite the flaws with the dialogue, the rest of the game is pretty awesome.
Okay,
the atmosphere, the world, it has a real good blend, I think, between like first-person action and kind of survival horror-esque. Because the game takes place kind of like in a semi-open world. And then there's parts of the map where you go into like buildings and things like that to explore. But when you're out in the open world, it's very hard to go undetected, so you have to try really hard to sneak.
I heard that the enemies, the NPCs, have crazy detection.
Yeah, so there is stealth in the game. Like, you can sneak up on enemies, but it's very difficult. The robots move very sporadically. They will just whip around instantly when you're like trying to sneak up on them. And when you alert one, there's cameras all over. If they see you fighting robots, they like sound the alarms. And so, and fighting more than like 2 or 3 enemies in this game is very challenging. So once there's a swarm of robots, you pretty much have to run, or you're not going to get out of it unless it's like way late game and you have some pretty good weapons. But so it has that good mix of like the survival horror aspect to it. And
is there one enemy that you say you have to absolutely avoid? That's I can't take this guy. I have to go.
Yeah. For other,
who's the Death Claw in this game?
Yeah. Well, yeah. There's robot enemies, obviously, but then there's also some organic enemies. And there's one organic enemy that's very resistant to like bullets and most of your special ability attacks. And he has a grapple move that activates like a quick time event pretty frequently, and he's super obnoxious, so I always avoid him. And he's like this weird kind of, the way he looks, he's like made out of like just a glob of blood vessels connected, and his limbs like stretch out and stuff, so he has long reach, and I always avoid him. Oh, there's one part of the game where you can avoid him because he's like a kind of like a boss.
Okay, so he's like kind of like a force boss to get you to understand his.
Yeah,
like,
but then after there is other instances where you can run into that enemy type. I always trying to avoid him. Some of the other enemies just annoy me, so I try not to fight them. Like especially the flying enemies, I just try to avoid them for annoying reasons. And
don't you love it when the boss becomes just a regular NPC later?
Yeah. But yeah, I've had a lot of fun with it, despite the flaws with the dialogue. The rest of the game was pretty awesome. Okay. I'm thinking about doing a review of it, so I might try my hand at a video game review after I finish it. So we'll see how that goes. Just another thing to learn on top of trying to learn all this audio engineering to try and understand how to now edit a video and upload that. Yeah, it's pretty good. I would definitely say, obviously it's on Game Pass, so if you're a Game Pass subscriber on Xbox,
it's on Game Pass?
It's definitely worth a play, yeah.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. But yeah, and I think that's pretty much it for now. Other than that, just playing other random things, Marvel Snap on my phone still and stuff like that. All right, so we got some interesting news that's happened this last month. There's actually a lot of news, and so that was this episode was originally supposed to be recorded on St. Patrick's Day, and we ended up postponing it, and then it got postponed again, and here we are now. But the cool thing about that is all the news that's happened over this last month, so now I have a lot more to talk about. One of the hugest things for me that happened this month was the announcement of the release date for Starfield. It's coming out September 6th of this year.
Yeah, stars in the field.
And it's also they're also going to have a kind of developer direct show for Starfield that's right after the Xbox showcase in June. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked about that. My prediction was a holiday season, like November, December release date for Starfield. So
it'd be ideal.
Yeah. So it's coming out before then, supposedly, and so I'm pretty excited that it'll be here in September. But you never know. I could get
Everyone, check your Xbox now. It's on Game Pass. Go get it.
Yeah, it will be on Game Pass though.
Oh, right on.
Day one, because that's
crazy.
Because Microsoft
owns
Bethesda now. Yeah, so I don't know. Oh, it's also exclusive now because it's not going to be on.
It's
PS5.
Exclusive?
Yeah, it's exclusive to Xbox now.
Or is it a timed release?
No, I don't think it's coming at all. I'm pretty sure it's exclusive to Xbox now. Okay. It's not even coming out on the PS5.
Okay.
Could be wrong on that, but I'm going to say 90% sure that I read that somewhere that it was exclusive now, which makes sense. I mean, with Microsoft owning Bethesda. But yeah, so that got announced. And yeah, I'm definitely going to probably watch the direct live, hopefully, if I can. And I know you're not anticipating Starfield as much as me, so
it's a field full of stars. Yeah, let's go. Yeah. Stars in space.
So you haven't watched any of they did release a trailer the day they announced that release date, and you didn't check any of that.
My guy, what did they show? Tell me what they show.
Well, they actually, not purposely, but they did show gameplay footage behind Todd, who was talking, because they had him in the studio. And so there's guys behind him testing the game, and you can see gameplay. So everyone's been like, not even paying attention to everything Todd was saying, but just focusing in on what gameplay we saw in the background.
Please, Todd, we haven't seen our family in weeks. Todd cracks the wick behind him like, we are going for a summer release date.
Yeah, but they showed a little bit of, they didn't give us much. They just showed some of the third-person exploration. So there'll be a third-person and first-person camera, kind of like Fallout.
Man, there's always like two ways to interpret that. Like, they're either trying to hold everything from you to keep the anticipation like going, and and then all of a sudden like, boom, here's the game, surprise, couple months, it's out. Or it could be like, like, oh yeah, we're just fixing things up, working on it. Really, I'm behind the scenes. There's a fire going on a couple computers in the office. They're trying to put them out and make sure that the game isn't a flop when it drops. And, it's a little worrisome. You got to make sure you keep interest and engagement out there. So I totally suggest, like being as open as you can with your fan base. Let them know stuff's coming. Give them a little here, a little there. And, that I feel like most of the time that'll go ahead and appease people. I'm excited for you, man. I know that you have been looking forward to this, and I hope it is going to be a stellar game.
Yeah, me too. And I think Bethesda, I think they've learned their lesson with some of their previous releases. I have faith in them and in Todd.
What is their last release besides Skyrim?
Fallout 76 would be
76.
the last one.
Okay.
And that one was pretty brutal. I actually I played maybe 10 or so hours of 76. I heard it's made a quite the turnaround.
Eventually everybody's going to stop playing that game, and it's going to be a true Fallout single player game after that.
Actually, I don't remember I don't think Bethesda was just the publisher on it, but Doom Eternal might have been the last release.
Doom Eternal, man. Whatever happened to Isabel and Doom Guy? I missed that. That was a fun time. They delayed Doom. I think they delayed Doom Eternal to release at the same night as Animal Crossing New Horizons, and then all of a sudden the fan bases were like, yes, let us celebrate together. And so it'd be like Isabel holding like the meat hook shotgun, and Doom Guy catching butterflies in Animal Crossing. And it is an unbelievable crossover of just like fan bases just shaking hands and being like, we are in this together. It's like, what? It's insane. It's like, what is it? Oh gosh. It is so... It's so amazing. Like, how are those polar opposite games, just okay with each other? Like, it's not okay with each other, but like,
yeah,
they just got along, and we got so many memes because of it, and it is great.
Yeah, for not having a whole lot in common with each other and their preferences.
I do remember one thing though, was that going on with that hype shortly after that game dropped. I do Animal Crossing New Horizons, when that dropped, there was a little thing that happened where they had like this Easter type event, and they introduced a Easter bunny guy, and he annoyed the heck out of everyone because every time you interacted with something during this event, where you wanted something specifically, it'd be an egg instead. It was like, it had like a 30% chance of just being an egg randomly. So you're fishing for this special fish, so you can throw it in your museum. Wow, I caught an egg on my hook. You're, I don't know, chopping down a tree and like getting things to fall down. Oh, there's eggs in this tree. And so like a lot of people were angry because they just wanted their regular items to go and grind for, and they were just given these eggs by this dumb bunny, and everyone's like, why can't Doom Guy come and save us and take out this bunny? But the funny thing is, out of all the Animal Crossing villagers, the Doomslayer would love the bunny the most. And it is because he has his own buddy named Daisy. And this is in lore. This is canon, his own bunny named Daisy, that the demons took away from him. And so a part of his hellbent revenge is trying to get Daisy back.
Oh, yeah, I never knew that.
I think it was Doom 2, yeah. We found out he has a bunny, and I think in like the Doom games, like they killed the bunny, and so now he's killing all the demons because they killed his bunny. Wow. But in Doom Eternal, he has a poster of him holding Daisy, the bunny. And in each level, you could find the bunny. So Daisy is hiding in certain segments of like the games, and it's so people are all don't realize, but Doom Guy loves bunnies. He is a bunny person.
Oh, I never knew that, and I've played every one except Doom Eternal. Is the only one I haven't played. Anyways, yeah, Starfield. I have high hopes for it. I'm super stoked for it. We'll see. Only time will tell at this point. But other news that happened, the end of E3 finally died out this year. The writing had been on the wall for a while for E3, especially after they had to stop for COVID a couple years back.
I need to figure this out. Is it indefinite end or is it canceled this year?
So right now everyone's treating it as a definite end. Like,
oh gosh,
everyone's. I mean, they didn't. What was it called? I'm trying to think of the name now. Was it the company that took it over had done quite a few different expos and cons.
Okay.
I think they were called Reed Pop. Yeah, Reed Pop. And they've done like a bunch of Star Wars cons and things like that. Pretty successful at event organizing and planning. So everyone kind of thought it was going to be a layup for them because E3 has a pretty long-standing tradition. But the statement that they made, they didn't say that it was definite, but just that they were canceling it, and they just understand that there's just not the same level of interest from gaming companies anymore, which is a huge part of E3.
Yeah, they've noticed. I've noticed they're all just become comfortable with doing their own showcases and not having to share the stage with like everyone. They're like, yeah, getting together, doing all that's nice, but we'd rather have our own focused event about all our own focused stuff where we could just highlight and show everything about that. Which, I mean, yeah, that was nice at E3 too, but there's just this different mentality of when, you know, like, it's not E3 hosting Microsoft, it's Microsoft hosting the next set of Microsoft games. Mm-hmm. So it's just like, I feel like this different mentality.
Yeah, and I mean, less money. You don't have to pay E3 for using space.
That
you get to kind of curate and create your own thing to present. It's not live, which also has some risk factor in it when you're
not restricted to a schedule. You get to run your own schedule.
So it makes a lot of sense for gaming companies to not want to do E3. So yeah, most people are saying, you know, in media outlets that this is kind of the end of an era and E3 is going away permanently.
Gosh.
And yeah, it was. I mean, there were so many companies that were pulling out just kind of since like summer of last year. Microsoft saying they're not going, Sony saying they're not going, and then all these other small publishers saying they're not going, with like Sega, and then Ubisoft I think was the last big one that E3 had, and then Ubisoft
bold of out. Ubisoft.
Yeah.
Them of all people. So, where will I get my Assassin's Creed news now?
But yeah, and everyone's saying, like you were talking about, how, you know, developers and publishers can just do their own thing online, their own stream, their own events, and these developer directs, and it's a lot more cost efficient and just a lot more better use of their time.
Yeah, Nintendo's been doing Nintendo Treehouses like every other month for years.
Yeah, but I don't know. Everyone's saying that it's the end of E3, but I find that just hard to believe. And I don't know if that's me being just nostalgic over watching E3 for so many years and that being such a big part of video game news and hearing new game announcements. But I just feel like there has to be some way for them. They just need to incentivize publishers and game developers to want to come back. And so I think really what they have to do is get rid of the cost for them to be there and look for other revenue sources, either ticket sales or sponsorships or advertisements. But
I feel like they're already heavily advertised, no?
Yeah, they are, but not enough, because they're still charging these publishers and game developers floor space. I'm saying they need to find a way to not charge them to be there, so that they're not having a cost to be there, and then find some other source of revenue. You know, obviously, I know nothing about the business side of that, or
so would that
how
be
that
like raising
work,
ticket prices, or
or it's just
finding a different venue, possibly.
Yeah, or organizing something. I mean, if companies want to do, you know, these online streams or direct develops, I think E3 can get into that market too. Just has to find its way. But I don't think it's the end for E3. I think it's going to come back, just in a different form, or with some major changes to it. I just think the formula they have now just isn't going to work anymore with having these big kind of in-person expos. But yeah, I mean, there's such cool things about the in-person expos, though. Like, people would create these sort of interactive displays for their games and stuff like that.
Yeah, there was like demos you go over and try out. There's this whole kind of just like aesthetic or feel that you're there. It is a convention, if you know, like really, of like just the next showcase of like what entertainment industry is showing as far as like the video game standpoint and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know this is probably a reason why publishers don't want to be there is because of the risk of doing things live and making mistakes. But that's also, I feel like, part of E3's
Oh, but we got
memories.
so many great moments from like horrible, cringeworthy mistakes done live.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Who could forget the Connect?
Yeah.
And not registering you like as they were doing it live.
Yeah. So I see why they want to avoid that, but for the consumer and for the audience, it's very enjoyable to watch stuff like that happen.
Oh god, that Xbox showcase was such a disaster. Always online, no disc. Which is so funny because it's arbitrary now. Like nowadays we are so comfortable as video game consumers to just own things digitally. Like we made a complete 180 because like back in the early aughts you told someone like you always need to be plugged in and you can only buy digital. Like they would cut you off. It's like, no, I need my physical collection. Like,
right.
And now it's just too convenient. It's offered so
people
much.
prefer to be only digital now.
Yeah, like it's convenient. It's on there. The game consoles nowadays, they just boot it up so fast. Like you don't need to go pull it out from somewhere. You just go press a couple buttons and everything just loads. And I feel like that, like the Xbox Game Pass and stuff like that, really incentivizes it because it gives you that little taste of like what it means to own a digital library. So if it's just that easy, then just continue just buying the new game digitally, and so then everything's just digital, and it's just really convenient, And so we made a complete 180 on that. So that kind of also just ties into this mindset of like the E3 because everybody's running their own thing digitally or their own personal stuff. It just totally changes from the mindset of needing to be at a place in person to just participating at a distance, which of course a lot of us do by reading our news and such as that. But there's got to be a different feel when you're there in person,
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, so we'll see. Again, I don't think E3 is going to be gone forever, but just come back in sort of this new format, whatever that's going to be for them. But I just think, that's been going on for like 20 years. I find it hard to believe that they would just give up and kind of roll over like that and just throw it out completely. But a lot of people seem to believe that it's gone forever. So we'll see.
I would remain optimistic. Maybe not this year. I could see if they want to take a year break, that's fine. Come back 2025. That's a good number.
Yeah.
That's a good comeback number.
Yeah. And other news, and this one is pretty crazy. At least to me, I feel like it's a pretty big deal. But EA Sports and FIFA officially are no longer working together. And so, obviously, most people know what FIFA is. It's probably one of the most popular sports games in the world.
It is, if I'm not mistaken, it is the most sold sports game in the world annually.
So, and they've been making FIFA titles for the last, I think the article I read, said 30 years they've been working together. So, and of course it was over money, right? FIFA wanted more money for the game, and EA said, no, we don't need you guys. And so they split up. And that to me, I don't really know what's going to happen because now both these companies are going to try and make a soccer game, and one company, FIFA, has no idea how to make a game, but they're going to try and outsource to some game development company to make it. And EA Sports obviously knows how to make a very good sports game, but they have no ownership to any of the rights or player names or likeness or anything. So I don't know. I think they said the title for the EA's new game is going to be called like EA Football Club or something, or I can't remember off the top of my head what they are going to call the new game. EA Sports FC is going to be the name of their game. And it's going to be interesting to see. This is pretty crazy. I know FIFA has the money, obviously, to make a game.
Mm-hmm.
They're probably one of the richest sports organizations in the world, so they'll be able to hire anyone to make that game.
I guess it depends on how much of that revenue is split up, Like, it was EA getting most of the money, or was it FIFA? I'm not sure myself.
Yeah, I think in the article it said FIFA was asking for $150 million. And I don't know what percentage of that EA was taking, but I mean, $150 million is a lot of money.
Yeah.
And even a 50-50 split would be a lot of money. So has to be some pretty outrageously high numbers of money that they were dealing with. But yeah, I mean, this to me is like, I don't know. I just can't really picture it. This would be like if for all the people who don't play FIFA out there, this would be like if the NFL said they're no longer going to partner with EA and they're going to make their own football game. And EA said we're going to make our own NFL, our own football game, but not use any NFL teams or players.
Not similar to this happened in the sense that, what was it? The MLB was PlayStation exclusive for the longest time. It was MLB The Show. And then, what was it, like 5 or 6 years ago or something like that? They actually started going multi-platform. So it was PlayStation's MLB The Show on Xbox. And it was like advertised. You load up your Xbox with this game, and it showed the PlayStation logo. Yeah. And it's some sort of blasphemy. Like on the screen, it's like, oh, what? And, but yeah, no. So, like, it's interesting to see this. So, like, we might get more than one football property a year. Like, will FIFA release annually? Well, EA, of course, probably has resources released annually, but is FIFA going to be the fine-tuned to kind of route, like, is they are going to take a break? Like, it's so interesting to kind of theorize, like, how they're going to go moving forward with this. And, like you said, like, what's more valuable to the consumer? Is it going to be the company name, or is it going to be, like, the title? Like, are people going to be drawn towards the FIFA title, although it's not EA? Or are they going to be drawn towards the, like the groundwork EA that they did and stick to what they know?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think they would.
What would you choose? Would you choose an EA soccer game or a FIFA soccer game?
I'll be honest. I haven't bought or played a FIFA game since college, so it's been about 6 years now. I only play it just kind of randomly when a friend has it. Or I know Savannah has nephews that really like to play FIFA, so I'll play with them every now and then.
Okay.
But it's too rage-inducing because they're better than me at it. And it's real demoralizing when a 10-year-old is just destroying you and just talking trash on you the whole time. But I think I would go with FIFA, just because they own so much of just the property names, the rights, the player, I think image likeness, all that stuff. I don't know what teams are going to be in the EA Sports football club game, but I know what teams are going to be on FIFA, all the international teams and things like that, all the big players. So, and like I said, I think FIFA has the money that they're going to hire the best game development company they can to make the game. So it'll be interesting. We'll see what happens. All right, I got one last story here for you.
Okay.
And one I was really interested in when I first read it. I was like, I need to ask Jordan about this.
For sure.
But it's Dead by Daylight, the video game. There's a company, I think it was Blumhouse and Atomic Monster. Above average movies, I would say Blumhouse has made.
They've done horror movies. Like some of the things that they're known for. Yeah.
Yeah, above average horror movies is what I meant to say. Blumhouse and Atomic Monster, partnering with Behavior Interactive, which I'm assuming that's the game developer.
Yeah, they've been working on their Dead by Daylight game for years.
So I know a little bit about Dead by Daylight, but you played it a lot more than I have.
Extensively for a good while. That's, like I said, one of the grind-heavy games to try to stay away from. Dead by Daylight was the reason why. I would not put that game down for like a year.
Yeah, and because I feel like it was not only because of the grindiness of it or the multiplayer, but just the blend of like horror movies and like cameos and things like that.
Yeah,
it was super interesting.
It is interesting. Asymmetrical multiplayer game with the horror aesthetic. Funny, I am more stressed out playing the killer than I am the survivor in those games. Just because it feels like it's a 4v1 and you are trying to take them out and they are trying to get out. And often enough, you're trying to chase one person down. The other three are working towards the goal to get out. Mm-hmm. So it's just kind of stressful if you're just really too into it about trying to get a good kill record for like the game and whatnot. And if you're fixated on that, it could be stressful and you could have a bit of a hard time. So Survivor is a little easier for me just because I know Survivor it's a team, you know? Like maybe not everyone knows you're a team and not everyone's going to try to help you. They're all trying to do their own stuff sometimes. Some other people might, just be aware of the game state a little better and help you out and work towards the goal of getting out. You will have some trolls every now and then. But yeah, no, being survivors chill. On every day, I'd say I'm more survivor main. When I'm feeling up to it, I'll go ahead and throw down as a killer. There are some killers I do enjoy trying to go out and giving them some time in there. One of those would be the Trapper is a really big brain killer that I enjoyed. You set a trap on the field and you try to corral the people to go into it because you'll protect areas that they would go for safety. You preset a trap there, make them think it's safe, go there, they get bear trapped, and you throw them in the basement. It's really great. Some other killers I enjoyed. Goodness, it's a while. I liked the pig for a while just because I thought seeing this chapter for Saul was what got me into the game. I was like, wait, I could be the Jigsaw apprentice and just throw reverse bear traps at everyone's head. That's amazing. And their faces could pop off. That's even better. Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's quite a few different killer varieties in there that I enjoyed. And so Dead by Daylight movie. So
the production company, obviously Blumhouse, pretty substantial company, makes above average horror movies. And the game Dead by Daylight's a lot of fun, so they have those two things going for them. But from what I know of Dead by Daylight, it's a multiplayer game, so not a ton of story in Dead by Daylight.
It's a lore-heavy game with no story.
Yeah, so how could they make that into a movie that's just not just your typical slasher film of stupid people doing dumb things and getting killed by a monster?
The hurtful thing is that it is probably just going to be that. So the idea of Dead by Daylight is that one of the things is death is not the end, is like one of the ideas of it, in the sense that all these survivors are here to appease the being known as the entity, and the entity brings these people to a trial. So the trial is for them to try to escape, whereas the killer needs to kill them. But it's more than that. For the entity to thrive, they need the thrill, the hunt, thrill, the chase, the thrill of the barely making it out alive kind of thing going on, and that appeases the entity and makes them fulfills their desire for this hunger. And so right when they've climaxed and reached as much as they can, drained out every bit of hope and stress and anxiety from the survivors, the entity wants the killers to go for the kill. And so it's just a constant thing of killing the survivors and them escaping. And then after the trial, the entity resets them and starts them on a new trial. And it's an endless loop of being hunted and killed. So that's TLDR, although it's a little long, of what Dead by Daylight is. And so, of course, later on, being this horror theme aesthetic, they brought in new killers, licensed killers. I do not see them at all using a licensed killer for a Dead by Daylight movie. I would say, if they were doing one killer, it would have to be the poster boy. It'd have to be the Trapper.
He's an original character.
He is an original character. He is the poster boy. He is on the cover of the game. They can possibly put up the 3 original killers. So there's 3 killers that dropped with the game when it first came out. It was the Trapper, the Hillbilly, who was supposed to be a nod to Leatherface, but they couldn't do Leatherface at the time. Then they found out they could get the license for him, so they dropped him later. And so, it's the Wraith, the Wraith, the Hillbilly, and the Trapper. So they could possibly introduce the idea that it's just a cyclical hell and have them go over death and escapes many times until they find a way to escape the actual cycle. That could be a route they go for. Other route is they could make it seem like a generic horror movie, and then a good twist I would recommend at the end, right when they die, they just get reset back to a new place. Mm-hmm. So then to introduce the idea that death is not the end. They could explore the idea of the entity and maybe have the entity send out people, these killers, to go and hunt them. and maybe they could go like that. So it's like a supernatural aspect to it that they could do. There's a few routes I could go for that, but those are like some of the most common ones I could think of. Dead by Daylight, I think, would certainly lend itself to a very quote unquote generic slasher type movie, which I don't think will hurt it because it certainly wants to acknowledge those kind of movies with its characters and stuff. But yeah, I would feel it could benefit from just giving off more lore and such. I do not have high hopes just because notoriously video game movies aren't that great. Just because they sometimes there's a lot of studio meddling of what a video game movie should do compared to what the video game creators want. And that to be honest, that's been doing a little better recently. We've got movies like the Sonic movie. Sonic movie's done pretty good. The Last of Us adaptation series, a lot of people love that one. Yeah. So the adaptations for video games have been doing great as of late compared to like what they were 10 years ago.
We won't mention Uncharted in that list.
Yeah, what was up with that casting, man? Yeah. Like, why? Like, I get young Nathan Drake, but the guy that looked like Nathan Drake they got as the old man. Like, what? That didn't make any sense at all. And then they just, like, mixed and mashed bits of each 3 games and just put them together. Yeah. And I'm just like, why?
Yeah, that was a rough one. One that I had high hopes for.
I saw that in theaters because my girlfriend really wanted to. She had a blast.
I saw it in theaters too. I mean, it wasn't. I wouldn't say it was an awful movie.
Sure,
it was a bad adaptation of the video game.
It wasn't a great adaptation. To say that, along with that, it wasn't not fun. Yeah, it is fine. Yeah, unironically, I enjoy the Angry Birds movies.
I've never seen any of those.
They are dumb fun. In my opinion. Well, and you know what? A movie based on a mobile app, I feel should be dumb fun. I don't want that to be serious.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned Sonic, and I have a theory that it's easier to adapt video games that aren't centered around like action or violence. Because I mean, like the Uncharted games, I mean, you're like a massacre. I mean, you go through the game, and I mean, it's an action game. You know, there's obviously like treasure hunting and exploring, but you're going through levels just mowing down enemies.
That is one thing that
you can't really put that in a movie of just 100, body count.
Uncharted is one of the games that brought to the attention of like video game audiences, like who really is the bad guy? Because he's just a treasure hunter. He's trying to be Indiana Jones, right? But even then, Indiana Jones didn't mow down endless mobs of enemies in a room, and Nathan Drake is trying to stop these guys from taking treasure in like each whatever game. But I think a minimum of each game, he's got to kill like 200 people. And so it's like, we need to preserve this treasure and I need to murder everyone involved.
Yeah. So I think that's when it gets hard to adapt these games, when a lot of the game is, a lot of the gameplay is centered around like action and, defeating bad guys and things like that. And that doesn't always translate to a well fleshed
story.
Out, well structured story.
So I don't necessarily believe that because, what is it? So like Sonic, sure, it's about Blue Hedgehog go fast get ring, but they were able to come up with some stuff just for it to be entertaining and enthralling enough for audiences to like it. And even if it was bad, Sonic fans would still go watch it because, like, yeah, we know our games are bad and our moves are bad, but Blue Hedgehog go fast, But there's some other stuff like just mentioned previously, The Last of Us. It is a very story-driven game, and they went through a lot of excruciating detail to make sure that they translated that as well as they can into the show. And from most people, from what I heard, they thought it was great. It was a brilliant adaptation, and so I think it is dangerous for when games that are adapted when they don't have enough story, that it's up to the studio to decide and just make whatever decision they want. And so they're just giving it to a writer to fill in the blanks of see how things get connected and how things should roll. And then the studio decides like, oh, well, we want this kind of thing thrown in there? Can you throw that in there? And then it's just a mumble jumble mix mash where there's not this clear vision of like what it should be thrown down. So more open-ended stuff, I think, lends itself out to be just a hodgepodge mess sometimes. And there are some movies that shine through it, and there's others that get left behind. One movie I keep thinking about how it could have been great, but wasn't. The Hitman movies. Those are bad.
Yeah.
I remember when I was like, I shouldn't have, but I watched the Hitman movie when I was young, probably like in my early teens, like my tweens age. And I remember watching it again and again, not because it was great, but because I couldn't understand anything that was going on. And now that I'm older and find out that like, it's not just me, it just really was a confusing mess. It's so validating. It's like,
well, the story in the Hitman game, especially the earlier ones, was very confusing because there wasn't, especially in Hitman 1 and Hitman 2, they didn't really tell you anything about the background of the Hitman, of the assassin. So, like you were saying, these writers had to try and just fill in a lot. And so I think that's what made it challenging for Hitman because they ended up going into like, you know, classic Hollywood tropes they thought would work for an action movie and just threw it into Hitman. So yeah, that was a disappointing one because I love.
What if there's a hit on the Hitman? Oh, brilliant writing.
So yeah, because I was a big fan of the Hitman games too, especially when I was younger. So I was super stoked for the Hitman movies, and yeah, they just were disappointed. I didn't like the casting either for the Hitman. I don't know who would have been better, but that's not my job to decide, but they needed to do a better job.
Can we see Vin Diesel as Hitman?
It would have been more entertaining, I think, with Vin Diesel. I don't know if it would have been better necessarily, but would have made for some better memes, I think.
Can we shave Nick Cage's head, have him be Hitman?
Yeah, but yeah, we'll see. I think, well, you were just explaining how when there's not a lot of story, it's harder, and that's what they're going to have to do with Dead by Daylight, is fill in a lot of the story, so.
Yep, I've already put out what my 3 ideas for it should be and what my expectation is. I don't think it's going to be amazing. I'm probably still going to watch it just because there's going to be some Easter eggs and nods. I think it's not going to be good.
Yeah, and that's probably what they're banking on, too, is that they already have a fan base that they know is going to come watch it. But I don't think they have a big enough fan base to make.
Didn't Blumhouse do the Slenderman movie? Who did the Slenderman movie?
I don't recall. I think Blumhouse did Insidious.
They did do Insidious.
Yeah.
I don't know who did Slenderman movie.
Yeah. I never watched.
But that was something I just remembered was a movie right now. Oh gosh.
But yeah, I didn't watch the Slender Man movie either, but I'm guessing it was probably a pretty poor adaptation because that was also a game that has very little story to it. But yeah, we'll see. I'll probably watch it too. I don't know if I'll go see it in theaters, but maybe wait for it to come to DVD before I check it out.
That's probably fair.
But yeah, I have low hopes for it. But we'll see when we get more information. There's obviously nothing to really go off right now, just speculating because there's no cast, no trailer, no nothing. So when that first trailer comes out, I'll be interested to watch it. Do you still avoid trailers to movies, or do you watch
only
them
for
now?
movies I really want to see? So some movies I'm doing that for right now. Evil Dead Rise, that's actually coming out like a few days before my birthday. I really want to see that. I'm avoiding it. Certainly 100% for horror movies, just because as soon as you see a trailer, you're going to see scenes in there of characters, and a lot of the horror movies, they want to kill these characters. So if I'm watching a horror movie and this character getting chased down by the killer, but I've seen that character alive in a scene that hasn't happened from the trailer yet, it kind of suspends my disbelief a little bit. So I was like, okay, well, this character is just going to live.
Yeah.
You know, like the killer is chasing them and they're just going to get away. So going in on a blank slate, knowing nothing, just going in, just watching the movie, just knowing absolutely nothing about it helps me keep me on edge. Is this character going to die or not? You know, like I don't even know who's in the movie. I don't know anything about the movie. And I'm going to go in on a blank slate and I'm going to enjoy it because I'm just going to be totally surprised whatever they throw at me.
Yeah. I've never thought about that for horror movies specifically.
Yeah, I did that for Scream. The Scream 6. I went on a blank slate and knew nothing about it. I thought it was pretty great.
Yeah. I mean, that's the best way, I think, to go into movies is with a blank slate and not know anything about it. I'm fortunate enough that my memory is pretty bad, so I don't retain much of what I see and listen to. So I could probably watch a trailer to a horror movie and not even remember that that character was in a scene from the trailer that I've seen.
Yeah. So just movies I really want to see. Sometimes they're superhero movies or just some movies I'm really excited about. Besides that, not too much. Like the Oppenheimer trailer, I'm watching that. That's fine. A lot of times animated movies, I don't care. Like Into the Spider-Verse, like that's fine. I'll watch the trailer for that. But yeah, just particular movies. It only happens like at a time. I'm probably avoiding 2 trailers at a time anytime in a year. But yeah, no, I tend to really just enjoy it. It just helps my movie experience.
Yeah, so we'll see about Dead by Daylight. All right, so another big thing that happened this last month was the Oscars. And in our first episode, we had some Oscar winner predictions that you gave us, Jay. And some of your predictions, I'd say most of them, well, I think you only made a few, but they were, I think, all correct that you made. I remember your prediction for best film was correct. And
Yep.
and then you also had I think it was best actor and actress. One of those two, I think you predicted, and it was right. So you had some pretty good predictions. Did you watch the Oscars live?
Yeah, I actually had a little Oscars watch party. I had everyone dress up in, to the nines, whatever. They had to wear like their tuxes or bun up or cocktail dress or whatever. I bought fabric for a red carpet to be rolled out, so everyone walked in on the red carpet. And I passed out ballots so everyone could vote. And I had like these gift sets from movies that came out from the previous year. Like I did one for Everything Everywhere. I did one for, Puss in Boots. I do a Nope box set too, and quite a few others. But yeah, had a watch party. We watched it live, and it was pretty entertaining. One thing that they did this year that they stopped a few years ago, that everyone's so happy that they changed back, they showed off every nominee and winner. So what they did previously for a few years is that they only did the quote unquote big nominations and winners, and they would actually just say it, some of the winners of the other ones. They'd be like, and the winner for best visual effects is so and so. Oh, and also this movie won best documentary, this and this and that. And they just like throw that in there, and it's like, wait, what? Like, so not everyone got the spotlight. So this year they changed it due to like high fan demand, so everybody got a chance to like be shown off and walked up and have a speech.
That's cool. I feel like they would do that too. I always thought they would rush awards like that because of speeches taking too long. But I feel like they would decide, okay, we're just gonna rattle off these winners.
So that was a bit of a factor. They did say that like, now that since we're doing this, please give a decent amount of time for your speech and not too overly long, just because since so many people are going to be walking up here, we want to make sure everybody has a fair chance to be able to talk and whatnot. So that was of course like not obvious, but something that people were considerate of, and that was good to see.
Yeah. I've always thought instead of doing the like music playoff to try and get people to stop the speech, they should do a trap door that just opens up when their speech time is over.
So they did a joke that I actually really enjoyed, where Jimmy Kimmel was saying that like, since all the speeches are going to be shorter, we're going to go not just have music to take you off, but we're going to, and as he's talking, he's trying to say what's happening, and then the thing happens of what should or might happen as the joke. And it is one of the song nominations, Natu Natu, where it has a famous dance number. And they came over there, they force danced them off the stage. And it is, I just Natu from RRR was peak, dude. Peak. Such a great movie. It is a Bollywood movie that has these visual effects, and it's a 3-hour epic, and it's just absurd and so entertaining and enthralling and fun. And I wish it was nominated for Best Foreign Film. It did not get nominated. It was a tough crowd for that one this year, but it did win Best Song this year. And I could not think of any other song that would have gone up against it. Rihanna's song that she did for Black Panther 2 did not beat it. Taylor Swift could not beat Natu Natu. Natu Natu was number one the whole way. It just been sweeping every best song category for this whole film season.
Nice. And yeah, I didn't watch the Oscars live. I watched a recap earlier a couple days before we recorded this. And so I did listen to the song. And it was, I couldn't tell what was going on or what they were singing about. It looked like it was at a wedding, but very entertaining.
Oh yeah. So the build up for that is pretty great. So like his friend is trying to be a wingman for him, and he finds out that this girl is like going to a party and got invited to it. It's like, oh well, we got to dress you up and go. And he goes over, and there's this guy that's like, why the heck are you here? You know, you're not like us. And he's like, you don't even know how to dance. Do you know how to do the flamenco or the swing? And so his homie like starts a song, and he's like, nah, see, we don't know that, but we know the Natu Natu, which is translated as the local dance or whatever. And they're like, well, what was that? And so they start singing and like dancing, and the choreography is so on point. They said that was the hardest part of the movie, the choreography, because the director wanted everything to a T to be like reflected and matched amongst everyone for all the dances. And it shows how like painstaking like all their symmetry is as they're dancing and whatnot. And yeah, and so all the lyrics is that like you need to dance fierce like a viper's bite, sting like a scorpion's tail. You need to move and strike. And come on, white boy, come dance is like the main hook of the song. And so yeah, oh my gosh, it's so exciting. I get so excited thinking about it. I want to pick it up. There's some really fun dance moves. They really just like they're so engaging. It's actually true that as that movie was being shown in India, there were some people that would literally dance in the theaters with that song, that it was so hyped.
Wow, that would be amazing to see in person.
Yeah, like they started saying like, come on, let's go dance, Natu Natu. And they were like, yeah, they like got up and they were just dancing in the theater to the song.
I feel like here in America, someone starts dancing in a theater, you're getting the heck out of that movie theater.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so we'll just go through some of these, and I'll just say what the winner was, what the category was, and you tell me, your opinion on it, if you were surprised or not, or if you had a pick that you think should have won.
For sure.
So we'll go starting off with Best Sound. Went to Top Gun Maverick, a movie we both stated that neither of us watched.
Nope, I have not seen. I am not surprised that it won that, though, because I feel for the type of movie that it is, you really have to work on trying to get the audience to feel that they are there, especially if they're in the cockpit of... The audience is going to be, vicariously in the cockpit with the main character and whatnot. And just all the sound effects they need to go through to be able to get someone immersed into there. I feel like that they really need to work on, and I took a bet and saying like, you know what, I feel like Top Gun was that. It had the best sound and got everyone to feel like this is what it feels like to be in the seat of a cockpit of like a F-150 or I don't know. I think F-150 is a truck, isn't it? I don't know.
Yeah.
Darn it. Anyway, like all these air
jets though, so don't feel bad. You did just as good
sorry.
as I would have in naming a jet. I would have said like F-Zero or something, but
like what? Like a F-22 Raptor. I think that's one actually. I don't know. There's an F something. I know, but I'm not surprised that it won Best Sound.
That's funny. My friend Dylan, that was on the last podcast episode, has his pilot license, knows a lot about jets. So he probably will listen to this and laugh at us trying to name a jet. But yeah. But Top Gun Maverick, I know, crushed it at the box office. That's always,
surprisingly.
That's always interesting to me. What movies win awards versus how they did in the box office, because there's some movies that just appeal to the masses that are gonna just completely kill it, like Top Gun Maverick. So it seems like it got kind of like a constellation prize.
It is.
The Academy just thought, what could we give Top Gun Maverick so they feel acknowledged? Because they're a really successful movie.
Tell that to the Elvis fans. But Top Gun Maverick, you need to remember that when it comes to movies, there are, to my understanding, two big types of films. There are like the types of films that you're going to see that are heavily nominated at the Oscars, which aren't completely obvious. I mean, to be fair, this year was a little different for like the movie that swept. And then you got your popcorn films, as I call them. So movies that are meant to be seen in theaters and are like entertaining. They might not be exactly like deep in story, but they are a structurally safe and sound film that intends to excite people. So like the Transformers movies are popcorn films. The Marvel movies are popcorn films. They're films that are meant to get you out, meant to excite you. They're not going to be profound or deep, but they are there to meet the quota of checking off boxes for a fan or someone that wants to go to movies. Like, does it look funny? Is it look exciting? Is it action? You know, just stuff that's not too much to think about when you're there. And that's totally okay. Not every movie needs to be profound, you know? Like, there's enough, like, I don't think John Wick is a profound film, but I was entertained to all hell, like, just watching it. I was like, this is exciting. It is absolutely a popcorn flick, in my opinion. Yeah. Is it going to be nominated for Oscar? I really extremely doubt that. I would think maybe best cinematography, maybe, at best. Nothing more than that.
Yeah. And then let's go into Best Production Design, which was All Quiet on the Western Front, which is one that I did watch.
All Quiet was one of my two S-tier films of last year. Out of all the films I watched, I had quite a few Bs, a lot of As, fair share of Cs and Ds I'd categorize, but there was only two I said out of all last year were like S-tier. So films that were the top to see that year. That was All Quiet on the Western Front and Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah, which both of those movies won quite a few awards.
Both those movies together won over half the awards.
Yeah. And then Best Costume Design went to Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
That one surprised some people from my group. A lot of people thought it was going to go over to Elvis or Everything Everywhere. Yeah. I saw Black Panther as soon as I saw the Ku Klux Klan tribe with their lionfish Aztec-inspired costume. I knew this was it. This is going to win. This is just such an ingenious, just collaboration of culture and just influence of Oceanic and Aztec Latinx like mix. And I thought it was just so ingenious. It's like, it has to go to this. It's just such an amazing look. And you know what? And this is great because the first Black Panther film actually also won Best Costume Design when that came out. And that took a lot of the people actually went out to the tribes out in Africa and got influence and spoke to like natives there as far as how they should design their outfits and inspiration. So they continued that trend with Wakanda Forever and it really shows. And so that one also won. So the Black Panther series of films are Oscar award winning films out of all the MCU movies.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that they had the first Black Panther had won that award too.
Yeah,
so it shouldn't have been that surprising to people. But...
yeah, they kept it up.
And then Best Film Editing award went to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Absolutely. So funny thing about that. So if you look at a studio movie like Avatar, they probably rented out an entire warehouse of people on their laptops trying to edit the heck out of this movie, make it look visually appealing. I mean, it's not visual effects; it's film editing. Everything Everywhere All at Once was edited by 5 people. 5 people who worked on the movie in like 30 days. Yeah. It is absurd how much that they got done, and it's a feat in itself. Like, even if like something like Avatar got like edited and adjusted and stuff like that, the amount of people that worked on and showed as much of an expanse as expansive film as Everything Everywhere feels is awarding and deserving of accolades in of itself.
I did watch Everything Everywhere All at Once because that was your prediction for
what
best
what did
film.
you
So
think?
like,
Be honest.
I was like, I have to watch this movie. It was awesome. It was completely deserving of every award that it got. I watched part of it with Savannah. Tried to watch some of it. Wasn't as big of a fan of it. She just not her type of movie. But
it is certainly an eccentric film, and it is not what is typical of Oscar fare. It came out during this time of the year. It came out like in late March. most Oscar films come out during the fall just because they keep up the buzz and the talk, and it's just like the targeted time, fall and winter. It is an eccentric film. It's got its fair share of like humor and silliness, and it's just completely. It's not like extremely like dark tone dramatic like some other films like Banshees of Inisherin or All Quiet on the Western Front.
Yeah.
It is a stark outlier compared to like what is typical, and it just swept. And is in all of it, it stayed profound. It had like messages, and it just had so many themes, and through it all, it tries to connect you with all these themes at the same time, but it never feels too overwhelming. You're able to catch up to it, and it's a rewarding experience to watch that film. I totally get people who can't get through some of it, and it's not their cup of tea. Like, I'm not going to force anyone to like something as much as I like it. Yeah. And that is understandable. But for those that are able to get through it and pick up on what the things that it's trying to say it is rewarding.
Mm-hmm. And I think in regards to the film editing too, I think especially in the beginning of the film, they use so many interesting angles, and they use a lot of like showing you the camera footage of the security cameras in their laundromat and things like that to show kind of subtle changes that were going on. So yeah, real interesting design choices in the editing and stuff. It was really cool. Best cinematography, which I feel like this is a big award to get, was again All Quiet on the Western Front.
A little surprised on that, but I don't think it wasn't warranted. For that one, I believe I put Elvis was my nomination for that one. To be honest, I thought Elvis was going to win a few more awards, not because I thought it should, but because I thought that's what the Academy wants. The Academy tends to really lean toward, when a biopic comes out, they are suckers for that. It's one example was when Bohemian Rhapsody came out. I don't think that was an amazing film. I thought it was a good film, maybe like probably a great film. I do not think it was amazing. Sammy Ramick really did do an excellent job. I do not think it was worthy of a ton of accolades. In comparison, Rocket Man, I think, came out around the same time, and I thought that should have won a lot more awards, if anything. But yeah, cinematography, looking at it, it was shown spectacularly, going through the trenches, just the scene of the carnage and the warfare going on. The impending doom of that tank scene when tanks were first introduced into World War I and Germans were seeing tanks for the first time. A lot of the scenery there was great. So yeah. I thought that was really good that it won.
Yeah. And I thought it was surprising how many awards it got because of how horrific the movie was. Like, it was a great film and a great anti-war film at depicting, the atrocities that occurred in World War I, but just so bleak and dark. I thought
it is very visceral.
I thought it was going to negatively impact how people voted and decided on what awards it should win. But yeah, it ended up winning a lot more. It was hard to recommend it to people after I watched it.
It is my favorite war film of all time. Previously, it was Saving Private Ryan, but after that film, it's just so raw.
Almost two different categories though, because Saving Private Ryan is like the heroic war story. I mean, there's like horrific stuff that occurs in that movie too, but the overall, I feel like, tone of it is like these heroes that overcame this.
No, certainly. Steven Spielberg, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Steven Spielberg definitely gave it more of a heroic fanfare kind of tone for it, whereas this is like, war is awful, and then it's just, war is awful. Look at all these awful things happening. It's certainly like
over and over again, and no redeeming qualities whatsoever at the end of it.
Yeah, but it hits you like a hammer, dude. Yeah. It's just so raw, so visceral.
And next award, Best Makeup and Hairstyling, was The Whale.
So that was a shock. Yeah.
Because this was competing against movies like Elvis. I mean,
it
Black
was
Panther. What was some of the other nominees?
Another one of the nominees.
Way of Water, right?
No, not The Way of Water, I don't think. The other nominee is, what was the one I voted for? All Quiet on the Western Front. I actually nominated that one. There's a scene in there specifically that made me want it to win. The scene where the gentleman, he's in the bloody, tanks were introduced. he's in one of the holes and he goes and he faces off 1v1 someone and, stabs him. And he's hiding from all the Germans because they're all like surpassing him and stuff. Mm-hmm. So he's got blood and smoke and mud dried and caked off. And it's all these layers on his face. And I thought that looked absolutely fantastic for the makeup job there. I'm like, this movie has to win makeup for that scene of the way he looks and how everyone looks here. Everyone's just caked with different layers of attention to detail. And then it wins to the guy wearing a fat suit. So Brendan Fraser, love the guy, super wholesome, deserves as much love and attention as he can. There is some controversy once you put someone in a fat suit. So yeah, and we know largely why it won Best Makeup. It's because he, quote unquote, looked good in it and believable. And
wore it. I mean, I didn't watch the movie, but he's wearing it the entire movie.
Yeah, no, of course, yeah.
Which is also a challenge to wear it for.
It is, and the believability of the suit and the effect to make sure that it looks like that he's, the suit isn't like melting away, because there's some people that, it just in a applique and not just part of them. He was able to make it look like it was a part of him. Like he is this character. Good for him. I cannot fully endorse letting something like that win Best Makeup and Hairstyling. Mm-hmm. It's not enough. Like, compared to something like All Quiet on the Western Front, where we just see it across the board, just consistency, compared to one Stark's example, I don't think it was deserved, in my opinion.
Fair enough. And then we'll go Best Original Screenplay, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
No contest.
Yeah.
Everything goes up against, I'm sorry, just no contest. It's absolutely original. Fun fact. The directors of that movie, do you know that they're the Daniels? They're a team of Daniels. Daniel Kwan and I forget the other Daniel, but I'm pretty sure Kwan was the last name of one. Do you know any of their other works?
I do not.
Swiss Army Man was another one. Do you know that film?
No, never.
It is a movie where stars Daniel Radcliffe and another guy. Daniel Radcliffe is a farting dead body that the other guy has to use to survive. He is a Swiss Army Man.
That sounds like a very indie film.
So that was one of their other films that they did that they got attention for. Prior to that, they said during interviews, like, yeah, we like doing small projects, even commercials and music videos, just because we have so many crazy ideas that we want to put in there. Do you know one of their most known music videos that they did?
I do not.
Turned Down for What? So, Turned Down for What was directed by an Oscar award-winning directing duo.
What's that? Little John?
It's absurd, but hey, like to think it started from the bottom, now we're here. Not even the bottom. It's just like started from here, and now look at us holding all these Oscars. Like, it's crazy.
I mean, that song did blow up, though. That was a popular song for a long time.
Yeah.
But I don't think I've ever seen the music video to it before.
It is funny. It's hilarious.
All right, and then Best Visual Effects went to Avatar: Way of the Water.
I think that was no contest. Like, everything it was up against. This movie took 9 years to work on. Concurrently. They worked on the next 3 films at the same time to avoid an aging effect like something like, I don't know, any movie that's an outstanding series where the characters aren't supposed to be a certain amount of years after, 1 month later, but the movie was made like 4 years later. Yeah. They wanted to avoid that. It was like, we're just going to record everything in this huge session. So like a 10-year session or 13 years, I don't remember how long, but yeah. So they definitely had a ton of technology. Avatar, the first film, was known for its visual effects, started the 3D craze of that era. Yeah. So I don't think anyone was going to question that Way of Water was going to win this one. In fact, when it came up at my Oscars party, I joked to everyone, I was like, all right, everyone got their free space, right? This was the free space.
Did anyone at your party not get it? Pick
one person did.
Yikes.
She also scored the lowest out of everyone. So sorry there.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't have done much better. Next one was Best Documentary, Elephant Whisperer.
So this is another big win for India. This is the first time India has walked away with 2 wins in the Oscars. This is an Indian film. It's a documentary about elephants and such. The other win was Natu Natu. So huge win. Congratulations for India. We are proud to have you guys, have more wins on your board for this. So big year for diversity this year.
Nice. And then best adapted screenplay, Women Talking.
So I don't know much about this one. I do have a friend who she told me that this was a crazy book that got adapted, and it is to a T very accurate in like its depiction of like how things happen in the book and like the tone from the book. But more or less about, I think it's like this group that's I don't want to say Amish, but more or less they're kind of like a cult, but like a polygamous tribe, whatever. And they find out that the men of the tribe are very controlling, lying to them, gaslighting, and sexually abusive, amongst others. And they've kind of like have kept that to themselves, and now they're trying to just exodus out of there. Mm-hmm. And so it's the story of them trying to exodus and escape them, because to them, they are as abusive, controlling, manipulative as all the men are. They are the providers. So they don't know how to take care of themselves. So like that's like the struggle. Yeah. To my understanding, like that's the film as a synopsis. But yeah, from my friend who also follows closely, another fellow cinephile, she said that this has been just killing in this category, and she knew that it was going to sweep up here. I think my nomination was also All Quiet on the Western Front. But this one, everyone says that this is a excellent adaptation from its source material.
Yeah, I didn't know All Quiet on the Western Front was a book.
It was a book in the 20s.
Oh, okay. Interesting. And then best director was for Everything Everywhere All at Once.
The Daniels.
Daniel.
I was a little surprised.
Is that Schweinert? How do you pronounce his last name?
Scheinert.
Daniel Scheinert.
Yeah. A little surprised on that one. There was quite a few big names in there. Not James Cameron. Was it James Cameron? No, Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg, he had The Fabelmans, it was loosely based on his childhood. Another thing that the Oscars people like, they like movies that they can relate to, which is typically movies about movies and actors and stuff like that. It's like, wow, this movie's so relatable. It was like, is it for the general audience? Like, is it? So I didn't vote that for it. What I voted for was Todd Field for Tar. Tar was another great film that sadly didn't walk away with anything alongside Banshees of Inisherin. Tar is a film about a musician. She is an orchestrator, and she has such high hubris and manipulative, and it's her spiral descent towards like madness and her trying to grip and control things before everything goes to shit. And so I thought it was a great film. I thought it was a really good film. I thought it was just the direction of how everything went and how we viewed it as an experience was great. I thought it was either going to go to that or for the Banshees of Inisherin, which was also very excellent. So as much as I liked the directions of the Daniels, I did not fully commit to thinking that they were going to win to that one. I thought, I don't think that they have a bad chance of winning. They have a great chance of winning, but I think that the Academy is going to go for one of the other people. Like I said, I think I went with Todd Field, went to Everything Everywhere. I'm not mad.
Yeah. I wonder, do you think when a movie wins a lot of categories that it makes it more likely to win another category? Like, is that a common thing that happens in the Oscars?
A sweep is not necessarily common. Last year, if I'm not mistaken, it was very diverse. I think there wasn't a movie that made more than 3 wins.
Oh, wow.
Like last year. Sweeps, they probably happen like maybe every 5 years or so. I don't know. Maybe like twice a decade. This certainly was. Another fun fact about Everything Everywhere, it is the most awarded movie of all time.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah. We were just talking about this. The last one was Return of the King.
Yeah, Return of the King was the last one. This movie has won more awards than any other movie that has ever came out in cinema history.
Wow, that's crazy. So if that's not incentive enough for someone to go see that movie, I don't know what could entice you. Oh, and Daniel Kwan too. I forgot to mention because he was.
They went to the same film school and they worked on projects together and they just vibed. They're like, "Hey, you just want to do movies together?" And they're like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Yeah, well, it worked out for them.
They're both named Daniel.
Best animated short film: The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and
Man,
cut off the rest of it. So
yeah, I've been wanting to watch that one. It looks super cute. I think it's The Boy, the Mole, the Fox, and the Horse. It looks super cute. I haven't given it a watch yet. The movie I think I nominated for that category was My Year of Dicks, which I think is about a woman who's just going through a bunch of different relationships, about just guys that are all various forms of scummy and stuff. But yeah, hey, I mean, this one seems kind of wholesome. I'd be down to give this a watch.
And it's a short animated film, so not a huge time investment in it. Best original score went to All Quiet on the Western Front. And I remember when I watched All Quiet on the Western Front, the music was
ominous.
The entire time. It never
That
stopped being.
Yeah. It's like, man, this is mechanical and full of dread.
Yeah. It always gave me that sense of nothing's going to be okay this entire movie with this music
so
playing.
much dread in that sound. I absolutely picked that one for best as well.
Best live action short film, An Irish Goodbye. Didn't watch that one.
Me either. I don't know too much about that one.
I do know An Irish Goodbye is when you leave without saying bye to anyone. So I'm sure the movie has something to do with that. Best documentary feature was it's a Russian name. I don't want to mispronounce it.
It's not Russian.
Navalny?
Navalny. It is actually a documentary about one of the leading men of the Ukrainian war right now.
Yeah, I thought it was about someone who's running against Putin. That's why I thought it was a Russian. But maybe I'm confused.
I'm pretty sure he was Navalny is one of the leaders, or was one of the leaders of the Ukrainian fight right now.
And then best supporting actor went to Ki Hu Kwan.
Dude, I almost cried when he won. He started talking, and he was just like really emotional, and you could hear his voice like trembling and stuff like that, and how just wholesome and just really thankful for the experience of how he got to this point, because he almost gave up on acting. He hadn't acted in like 30 years.
Yeah, I think you talked about that on the first episode, that The Goonies was his last film he acted in.
Yeah, one of the last. It was like he was a child actor, and then he came back, and he turned
Indiana Jones too.
He was.
Yeah,
he was in the second movie. A few racist scenes in there. There's a scene where he's walking on skulls, I think, in like a temple, in the temple or whatever, and he's like, "Oh, they're crunching like fortune cookies," and it's
yeah. Some of those old movies don't always age well.
Yeah, but yeah, no, he was extremely wholesome, and I was choking up. Just hearing him talk, and it was really well deserved. There could not have been anyone else that would have won Best Supporting Actor.
And Best Supporting Actress, a powerhouse actress, Jamie Lee Curtis.
First win, first nomination, if I'm not mistaken. That actually surprised me. There was two people from the same movie that got nominated, Jamie Lee Curtis, as well as Stephanie Sue. I thought Stephanie was going to win. She was the leading antagonist of the film.
Yeah, the daughter.
The daughter. I thought she was going to win, and they gave it to Jamie. I am not upset. I'm just surprised. I was like, oh, wow. To be fair, I think isolating the story that Jamie had with the character of that Michelle Yeoh played, it's actually just really touching if you just isolate that in itself. Because like seeing the way how she plays her character and the different variants of her character interacting with her, it's she does like really nail it. But I just felt that Stephanie Sue, she just had so much more to work with and so much to deal with and provide for us in a viewing experience. I thought she would have got it, but no, went to Jamie, and good for her. She puts it proudly next to her Employee of the Month award that she still has for the movie. She sent a picture out to her audiences. This is like one of my top 3 favorite awards. It's the Golden Globe for this movie, or excuse me, it was like a Golden Globe. It was the Oscar, and it was the Employee of the Month for the movie as well.
That's funny. I didn't know. Was it like a joke award on the movie set? Do movies usually give out?
No, it's the IRS Employee of the Month award that she showed off.
Oh, so it's an award on the.
It was the one that she points out in the back. She kept it, and she puts it next to her Oscar.
Oh, that's funny. Next one, Best Animated Film, Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio.
Yeah. So another fun fact: Pinocchio won twice. So what I mean by that is, do you know the Razzies?
I do not.
So the Razzies are the awards for the worst things for movies of the year, and it is done a day before the Oscars deliberately.
Oh, okay.
So as you know, or might remember, 2 Pinocchio films came out last year. There was the Disney one and the Guillermo del Toro one. Mm-hmm. The Guillermo del Toro one won Best Animated Feature Film. And then the Disney Pinocchio one won the worst animated film of the year at the Razzies. So
I thought
Pinocchio
the one that was made, the Disney one was a live action one, or was it?
It's partly live action.
Both,
so like there are animated characters and stuff in there. But
I gave up on Disney's live action movies, so I didn't even bother trying to watch that one.
Yeah, so they gave it to that one. So Pinocchio walked away with 2 awards. Some interesting things about that. Guillermo del Toro is a very particular man in how he wants things to look. It's very obvious from the story I heard about Shape of Water. In Shape of Water, since the story involved love with like the fish creature, he storyboard drew the fish creature himself and would show off pictures of it to his daughter and ask him, do you find this fish man attractive? And he kept asking and redrawing until she was like, yeah, sure. Until it was like, yeah, maybe I could probably work with that or something. So he did something similar to this Pinocchio. I've heard that there was a character in here that was like a villain or whatnot, and that the character in the claymation, this is a claymation film, so it takes years to work. You'll do a 10-second scene in a week. Like how long these take? These take years. And so this person took like a year just making a model for like the antagonist, like a character. And Guillermo del Toro was like, I don't think this is the way how I want it to be. You'll need to redo it. just fall apart from the sound of that. I was like, it took so long to work on this. I'll do it again. But yeah.
Those are usually the personality types, though, that make the best pieces of art. And
claymation is known for just being outstanding, just for the amount of work and effort going in itself. So if you see a claymation film, odds are it is going to win something. Yeah. Because there's just so much put into it. Obviously, not a whole lot was put into the Disney Pinocchio film, as evident of it winning the Razzie for worst animated. But yeah, another fun fact: a film that was up for Best Animated Feature also was Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. It did not have to go that hard, but it went absolutely hard and was a tough contender. In that film, there is a character known as Big Jack Horner, who is, as you know, like the Shrek movies are based off fairy tales and whatnot. Mm-hmm. He's based on solely like a 4-lined nursery rhyme. And there's a joke in the movie that he gets angry at every magical creature and being because he got shown up when he was young against Pinocchio. So not only could the Last Wish, Puss in Boots, not win against Pinocchio for worst film, but neither could it win for best film. So it lost to Pinocchio twice. Jeez. So it just keeps up the tradition of that character just losing to Pinocchio.
Yeah. That's funny. Let's see, and then next we have Best International Feature Film, All Quiet on the Western Front.
No contest.
Yep.
If RRR was up there, like the cowards they are, it should have been up there. I think it would have gone to RRR or All Quiet. However, I honestly think All Quiet deserved it.
Yeah. And if anyone doesn't know, All Quiet on the Western Front is a German film. Best Original Song, we already talked about from
Not to.
Yep. Best Actress went to Michelle Yeoh.
Tough choice. It was not as stacked as Best Actor. I thought it would have gone either to Michelle Yeoh or Cate Blanchett. I can't recall if I voted for Cate Blanchett, but it was tough because they had the Golden Globes just like a month and a half prior. Golden Globes are about 48% accurate as far as how they end up doing at the Oscars, if I'm not mistaken. It's like 45%, some other. Cate Blanchett won Best Dramatic Actress, whereas Michelle Yeoh won Best Comedy Actress. So it was like two different things. So it was like a head-to-head. It was really tough to choose. Michelle Yeoh did wonderful, though. I'm glad she won. Cate Blanchett also did a fantastic job and should not be disregarded in her performance in that either. But Yeah, Michelle Yeoh, wonderful. She's just killing it.
Yeah. And it was a hard role too for Michelle Yeoh. I feel like, I mean, the versatility it took to play all those different characters was pretty challenging and awesome to watch.
Yeah.
Best actor went to our fat man, Brendan Fraser.
Whether it was so like this was the fan vote, and I am happy for him that he got it. He needs a. Oh, I don't want to say he needs a win, but it's great to see him earn a win. Yeah. And this category was really stacked. You had Brendan Fraser here for The Whale. You had who else? The gentleman who did Elvis. You had him. You also had the lead actor for, oh my gosh, why am I forgetting all these actors' names? The lead actor for Banshees of Inisherin.
Colin
Farrell. Colin Farrell as well. Yeah, Colin Farrell, Elvis, The Whale, Brendan Fraser from there. It was a tough choice in all these, in my opinion. The fan vote was for Brendan, and I'm really happy he did. I would not be surprised if Colin won, though. Also wouldn't be surprised if Elvis won, though, because like I said, the Academy just loves biopics.
Yeah. And
everyone was clamoring for Elvis to win. I do not think Elvis should have won a whole lot. There's a couple things I could have seen it win. Elvis reverse sweep wins nothing. It's kind of funny for how many people were like, Elvis was the best movie of last year. And I'm just like, is it? It's a good film. It's great. It's not profound. Brendan Fraser did a profound performance in The Whale, and I'm happy for him.
And then last one, Best Picture, Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
Any surprise there?
Not surprised at all.
That was your pick too, so your prediction was correct for Best Picture.
Everything Everywhere. We're getting so many people to resonate and talk about the movie nowadays, and even memes are popping up where people just want to do laundry and taxes with everyone now. And it's so for the awards, they do songs. Each of the song nominees, they'll do a live performance of them. And they did one for Everything Everywhere where it was one of their songs, and it was hilarious to watch. The singer started singing, and all of a sudden they start raising their hands. They have hot dog finger hands. Rakakuni comes out in the background, and everything is just really surreal experience. And it's this movie, man. It is. This is an astounding film. We haven't had a film like this in like 10 plus years. It is going to leave its mark in the film industry, and it is. I think it's going to stand the test of time, honestly.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it, you probably don't understand what hot dog fingers or raccoon is, but you'll have to watch it for yourself to figure out what those references are. But yeah, it was such a unique film, and took something that's been done so many times, an alternate universe storyline, and just completely made it their own unique story. And yeah, that was really, I'm glad that of all the movies you recommended to me to watch, that was the one that I picked to do. So yeah, that was all the Oscar winners. Now we're in April now, so 4th month of the year. Any movies you think coming out this year that are going to be nominated for any Oscars?
Early talks. I'd say the strongest contender early talk right now, Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer.
I don't think I've heard of that one.
So Oppenheimer is like a biopic. I don't know how accurate it is, but it's a biopic about the guy who created the atom bomb.
Oh, okay.
So it is about the scientist. I think even Einstein's like in it for a bit. He's like conversing with Einstein how to like work with molecules and like equations like that. But it's about creating something that can change the world or end the world. They even discuss, there's this whole ominous dread for the film, and just like I think even the trailer has like a ticking clock, whatever. And he's trying to create like the atom bomb so that the military could utilize and stuff. And they are trying to work towards the first test of it, I think is like the climax of the film that they're trying to push off. And they're saying like, this thing, we don't know if it will stop. And they're like, what? It's like, yeah, it's supposed to, like interact with the molecules around the air and cause an explosion, but we don't know what is the limit of this. Like, is it going to be like, a room size? Is it going to clear and level a city? Like, what is the result? And it just looks like it's going to be a very serious, very just dramatic film. With that being said, I am not the hugest Christopher Nolan fan. It's not because I don't think he has great films. He's done films like Interstellar. He's done Inception, the Dark Knight trilogy, Tenet. He just has a style that I cannot attune myself to.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to follow in some of his movies.
His movies, I feel, are hard to follow, and I feel like they expect a lot of me for, like, as I watch to, like, keep up with. And, I mean, you're watching the film, you know, you should expect to keep up. It's just, it's done in a way that I feel kind of stupid for not knowing everything that's happening sometimes.
Yeah.
And I felt like that a bit for Tenet. To be fair, Tenet is a bit perplexing in itself, but I even felt like that when he did Dunkirk, which is another one of his last films that was, like, a high accolade film.
Yeah.
I just couldn't, I had a hard time following.
Yeah, I remember with Tenet, when a scene in the movie where the scientist is kind of explaining how everything works in the movie with like the time travel aspect of it, and Washington asks a question, and her response is, if you think about it, it makes sense, or if you don't think about it, sorry, it makes sense. So I was like, okay, so I'm just gonna go through this movie not thinking about it and just enjoy the cinematography of the movie and not try and wrap my head around this confusing idea of time travel that they've created.
So hype is up for that movie. That is currently one of the leading contenders for what may possibly be an Oscar-nominated film. I don't know if I'm going to watch it just because my track record with watching Nolan films, but you know, all for him if he does come out with a banger, you know.
Yeah. All right, it's time for 20 questions, video game character edition. Now, Jordan is currently leading the leaderboard with his one win on the first episode of guessing Cortana correctly.
At a nail-biter finish.
Yeah, used all 20 questions and was also fed misinformation about the character and still managed to get it, so that was really impressive. But on this segment, Jordan's going to try and guess a video game character that I've picked out by asking me 20 yes or no questions. And I'll answer yes or no to the best of my ability, or I don't know. But if I feel like you need a little more information or maybe a little bit of a tip, I'll try and give one. But I'm going to try not to give out too many tips, because then I feel like I give it away when I do that. But whenever you're ready, you can begin questioning.
Whew, okay, no pressure. Just got to keep up the track record. All right, so let's start off by saying, is this character the main... Okay, so I want to ask a question that offbeat. I don't want this to count for my question, but is this... Are all your questions going to be main characters?
All the characters that I pick?
Yeah.
Oh.
I want to know this beforehand.
No, it can be any character that's appeared.
Okay. You know what? Yeah, I should have answered. Cortana wasn't... I mean, technically she's a main character. Okay, anyway. Let's go ahead. Okay, was this character part of a remaster or remake?
No, but they were a port. But I don't think the game was remade or remastered, but ported to other consoles.
Okay. Somewhat no. Gotcha. All right. Is this a first-person shooter game?
No.
Are guns the primary weapon in the game? Or are guns and weapons used primarily?
Yes.
Okay.
You said guns and weapons, right?
Yeah, guns and weapons.
Yeah.
Are they from a sci-fi game?
Yes.
Okay. Is this game considered an RPG?
Yes. That's 5.
All right. I think I might know already. Is the main character customizable?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. I have an idea. We are going to say, does your character talk?
Does this character or the character you play in the game?
Sure. Does this character talk?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's a good question. Is this a main character?
Yes.
Okay. Is this a game from BioWare?
Yes. That's 10.
Okay, cool. Right on. Did this game originally come out for an Xbox console?
Yes.
Okay. So that gives me an idea. There's a couple BioWare games that did originally come from an Xbox console. We can narrow it down to a couple. What's the best way of asking generally? Is it a Star Wars game?
Yes.
Okay. But now who? Oh, God. Is this character female?
Yes.
Is it Bastila?
You got it.
Yes! There we go.
That was impressive. 13 questions to get Bastila. Yeah. Knights of the Old Republic came out in 2003, originally on the Xbox. Which I didn't know that. I thought it was also a PC release, but it was an
original Xbox. They later ported it to PC.
Yeah.
Dude, we had an announcement for like the remake, and then like they're like, oh, it might not actually happen. And I'm like, what? So like,
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the company that was developing the remake, but they had done ports before. Mm-hmm. I think they might have even done the port for the iPhone for KOTOR.
How many times is the council going to lie to me, Kevin?
But I think they had done ports before, and they never remade a game, and they realized like this is a lot of work. I think that's why they ended up disbanding it.
God.
But yeah, I don't know if we'll ever see. I'm sure at some point we will, because I feel like remakes and remasters are really popular right now.
Yeah,
so
they're pretty hot.
It's only a matter of time before KOTOR gets that treatment.
We need it.
Yeah, but I don't know. BioWare is, not the same BioWare it used to be. So maybe we won't ever see it.
Yeah, they're under EA's thumb. So
yeah. But wow, that was really impressive to get it in 13 questions.
I thought it was going to be a Mass Effect question.
It was
Initially,
it was a hard pick for you for this one. I wanted. I'm still trying to softball it a little bit for people, because this is a hard game.
No, I don't think this was a softball. This is a little scary to go for like Bastila, but just the way how I was.
But
able
you didn't
to
get any tips either. I mean, you asked really good questions. I'm surprised you didn't start with the male or female question. You didn't ask that till the very end. But was there strategy in that, or did you just?
Kinda. I figured if I just define the game enough, it will help determine what the characters might be. So, like, asking the standout, because male and female, sure, that kind of splits it up. But, I mean, if it's already confirmed that it's not a main character or can be not a main character, that doesn't really help.
But yeah, 13 questions. I think that's going to be tough to beat, I think. That's a pretty low amount of questions to ask to get a video game character. So we'll have to see if anyone's able to top that.
I'm on the top of the leaderboard twice.
Yeah. Well, I think that's it for this episode. So, any last shout outs you want to give right now, or say hi to your family? Any projects you're working on right now?
Not Last Jedi, sorry. The new Star Wars game, that's looking fun. Movies I'm excited for. Evil Dead Rise, can't wait to give that a watch. Cosplays, not too many right now. There's some on the back end. Saga comic I'm reading. I'm excited for the next chapter coming out this week. Got a book club going for that. Super excited. We're all talking about it. But yeah. Got some other little small things here, but hey, thank you so much for having me. I'm glad I'm able to share this time with you, man.
Yeah. If anyone wants to check out your cosplay, where can they find you at?
Instagram, best place. Camo Spark, KAMMOSPARK.
Nice. And do you do any Twitch streaming still?
No, my girlfriend does though.
Oh, okay. What does she stream on Twitch?
She did the entirety of Kingdom Hearts games. Recently she's doing Sims Legacy, where she has like a theme story of like Greek gods and whatnot. So she's doing like their theme, all her characters are themed around like Greek mythology. And she also does some other games on the side, Disney Dreamlight, Fortnite, puzzle games every now and then. She really likes puzzle games. So yeah.
Wow, I never knew that. Although I don't know much about the librarian other than her career. That's cool. What's her Twitch channel or name?
Yeah, it's Kalicala, Kalicala.
All right, right on. I'll definitely have to check out her channel.
For sure, yeah, give her a follow. She'll enjoy it.
Thanks for joining our party this month. I hope you enjoyed the conversation. If you'd like to find out more information about the show or stay up to date on our latest episodes, you can follow us on our social media pages. You can find the details in the episode description, as well as all the links to the articles we discussed for this episode. If you'd like to message me directly, you can email me at GatherPartyPodcast@gmail.com. Episodes are released on the last Tuesday of every month. I hope you join us for next month's episode. And remember, friends, it's only screen peeking if you get caught.